governance expert, and now having assumed different positions over the period. I'm glad to have you both. I'll start with the lady. Allow me, sir. Ruth Ambogo. She is a policy expert, a lawyer, and congratulations, by the way. The last we interacted, ulikuwa bado unasoma uko Ngumbaru. Now we appreciate that, and a member of DAPK party, and we will see how that will morph with time. I saw somewhere someone saying, "Is this the next Martha Karua?" Ndio hiyo sasa. And also joined with Gabriel Muluma, a good friend from back in the day. And now he has assumed the deputy government spokesperson position. And the last time we were here, it was just before, then 2 weeks after.
Yeah. Yes.
So I guess 2 weeks after this, we are looking forward to some other news for you. How has it been?
We always say hopeful.
Yes.
But you see, the beauty about this whole thing, Mark, is you remember when you texted me back then?
Yes.
You know, I had to remind you that you were actually part of this journey. You remember we used to, the late night news we would do with you at NTV.
Yeah.
And, you know, so many people, you know, who've come along, you know, have really been, you know, part of this journey.
How has it been? How long has it been? It's been a year?
Oh, yeah, a year and a few months.
How has it been?
Oh, I'll be honest with you.
You've lost your hair a bit, you know.
I think even back then I didn't have my hair.
Gained some weight. But still looking good.
Did you hear what Ruth said? No, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
It has been amazing.
Okay.
The challenges, as you've seen, are real. But obviously, key among the challenges, and I hope we may be able to talk about this evening, we've been introduced to something else called deep fakes. Fake news, misinformation, disinformation. Mark, it's as much as we would probably never sit down and make this a national conversation, I feel we are heading there. May I remind the words of, let me just remind you the words of the just past immediate American president, Joe Biden. In his last interview at the White House, he said this, and I'll quote him. He said, "We are under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation. And it's perpetrated deliberately by people."
Yeah.
You know, and he goes on to mention the super wealthy and what have you. And that got me, you know, thinking.
And we're in a global village, so we're in that conversation.
We are also in there, Mark. And I'm glad you said it. We are part and parcel of it. When you report something here, before you say cut and a half, it's in New York.
Yeah.
You know, when you do a video right now, Ruth will be seen, probably she's being seen by her relatives who are in England. Yet, you know, things are happening live. You don't know probably, and you do.
Yes, probably prophetic.
But you see, like you're saying, it's a global village.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, the same way it was back then when it was so hard to pass misinformation, nowadays it's in the touch of a button.
I wonder if you're talking about the gaffe by the Foreign Affairs PS.
Well, you saw that too.
And him apologizing for using that deepfake video as truth.
And Mark, Ruth, I tell people, we are entering a sphere where we'll not be able to define our own realities. Let me give you an example with my own auntie. I've never done this, Ruth, to be honest. I've never hanged up a phone on my auntie. I did it once, very recent. Because we were arguing about a video and I'm telling her, it's not real.
It's not real.
And she's insisting, I'm seeing, what are you talking about? I'm auntie, it's not real. No, I can't.
Kata.
I'll call you later.
Yeah.
Because I would never had such a conversation with my auntie, but I can tell you, I can see what she is seeing. So imagine us trying to define our realities and we cannot.
Right.
Not because we do not want to, but because what we are presented with. So I think it is something that's going to be in our back burner for the longest, Mark. And at some point, people must make deliberate actions to see whether we are going to manage our social media either through serious policy or through other ways, whether it's through legislation. Yeah, exactly, and I'm glad.
Yeah, well, she's wearing her hat, her lawyer hat right now.
It's an interesting conversation because personally, I feel like in the past few months, I have also fallen victim misinformation.
Yeah.
I think we also need to probably define misinformation, disinformation,
Right.
because I think it's different.
Yes.
So I found myself in very interesting situations where someone calls you and tells you, oh, by the way, there's this photo that you posted on maybe Twitter or on Facebook,
Yes.
and I'm seeing it being used to advertise a dating site. Like, are you aware? You know? And one time I remember there was just a lovely photo, then they sent it to me, and clearly I could see this person is using this photo of mine
Yeah.
to advertise a dating site. And I don't know whether it's because I was looking very good or...
It's a compliment. Take it as a compliment.
I take
Yeah.
it as a compliment.
You're saying
but
you was looking
the
hot.
dangers of that, the dangers of that could be the
Yes.
repercussions of the negative repercussions
Correct.
of that could actually be very catastrophic, especially if, for example, you are building a profile, yeah? You're building a profile, you have, not even building, you've built a reputation
Yeah, you have a
over
brand.
time,
Yeah.
and somebody who doesn't know you that well
Right.
would assume that you are working together with a dating site.
Yes.
You're making money off a dating site you're using your image to make money out of a dating site. Another instance I had was one time a good friend of mine, the woman representative for Busia, had invited me to go and pay a courtesy call to CS Mbadi.
Yeah.
Next thing I hear, someone is telling me, yo, look at this. People are using this to advertise some loans that are being, non-existent loans from the Ministry of
Wow.
is it Treasury? Yeah, that they're saying there's these loans that are being issued to people.
Yeah.
And now you see my photo is there, shaking hands with the CS.
Credibility.
So how many
Yes.
people
Yeah.
will fall victim to this scam? Because it's clearly a scam. There's nothing like that, yeah?
True.
They'll think that, first of all, they know Ruth is a reputable person, known, fine. People have different interpretations of who I am, but for those who know the good side of me, or those who think of me in the positive side, we
Yes.
must accept there's people who clearly do not like me and they have their own views about
Agendas.
me. But
Yeah,
those
to
who
push.
look at me as a young person who has immense contribution to the youth, the youth agenda, who has done quite a number of things in the youth space, when they see that photo, it's credibility for that scam organization. Yeah, so the next thing, somebody says, Ruth is part of this. You
Yeah.
mean CS Mbadi is giving loans and Ruth is the face of it. Let me take this loan. Next
Aye,
thing,
aye.
I could be enjoined in a case where I'm told,
Correct.
we saw your photo, you are promoting this thing, tell us now. You know, some of these things, I mean, clearly it's a problem.
That's actually happened here with the social newsroom where
Wow.
someone put my name and Dennis Ukari's name against a cryptocurrency service. And
Yeah.
people would call me and ask, is this real? Can I get into this? Because
Now you can imagine the
credibility-
people who don't have your numbers.
So they
who can't
took,
call
yeah,
you.
they took screenshots of a
Yeah.
conversation we had here and put words in our mouths, like quoted us as saying such and
Right.
such, this is what we do. And anyway, this is true. But I want to be very careful because Gabriel Mudhuma is now the government deputy spokesperson,
Yeah.
and he's probably spinning. Kwa sababu tukikuja tukimwalika tulisema tunaongea juu ya now what for Kenya.
Yes, sasa yeye
shaanza kwa
amekuja
deep
na
fake.
mambo za AI.
No, I was just no.
But let me tell you, Mark,
But
you
it's-
must appreciate
I
that
do.
Yeah.
in their regime, it's a problem.
Yeah, no,
because
no,
let me
it's
tell
true.
you,
Not-
how
not
many
even
times
that.
do you see, sorry to say,
Yeah.
he might not be my cup of tea, but how many times do you see the president being put in videos where he's dancing and clearly he was not dancing?
Yeah.
He's hugging people that he never hugged. He's kissing people he never kissed. And for someone deep in the village,
Yes.
they cannot be able to tell
So it must
the
be a
difference
headache. It
between...
must be a headache
No, no,
for
no,
him,
no.
It
him and
must
his
be a
office.
headache.
Yes,
for him.
by the way, Mark, what you said, and I hope this is my parting shot on this subject.
Yeah.
Mark, we shouldn't. Yes, right now we may think it's working. Probably it's working on government, and people are happy.
Yeah.
People have taken that joke too far, Mark. It's now we've gone to where we are putting leaders in coffins. We've gone to that. And I was reminding somebody, Ruth, today it may be him, but guaranteed tomorrow, because what we've done, we've taken an amazing tool called the internet. We've subjected it to abuse just because it's available.
Okay.
Yeah? And we think just because probably I cannot be reached, but just because I'm in another jurisdiction, it's easier for me to do this. But as sure as the sun rises from the east, you, like what you've just said, you are part of, somebody did you in as well.
Yeah.
It will just happen to you when you least expect.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm thinking we've had two divides. We have people now who are using this resource called the internet to empower themselves economically.
True.
Mark, you have young men and women that I have seen. When you go to places like the Rift Valley Technical, when you go to places in Mombasa, AI labs, when you go to Naivasha, when you go to Nakuru, young men and women who are getting jobs from, and they are making money. They are monetizing their talent. Yet at the same time, you have somebody who believes, they actually own society by just spewing hatred and doing all manner of things. So it's.
Let me get the, since you brought it up, let me get the last word on this, because I'm sure it's in your office.
It is,
It's
yes.
within your interest to deal with such
Correct.
in terms of information, what is out there.
Yes.
And what then should be the way forward? Because the Principal Secretary Foreign Affairs, Korir Sing'oei, wanted to take on fake analysts on Nairobi's controversial Sudan issue, but he found himself on the receiving end of deep fake.
Correct.
And this was on Friday morning. He apologized for using a fake CNN video that he intended to use as evidence of the support Kenya has gained for hosting Sudanese rebels.
Yes.
So you can go look at that in terms of what the context of this conversation is. But as a deputy government spokesperson, what then is the way forward? Because he's apologized.
Yes.
There was a big egg and face
Yes.
for the government,
Yes.
foreign affairs, nonetheless. The way forward in handling your online presence and communique. What is your recommendation?
By the way, very good question. You see, for the longest time, and I think probably this is, Ruth, you'll agree with me, probably this is where the oversight was. We said we did not want our internet regulated. You remember?
Yeah.
We don't want it legislated. In a way, we want raw
Freedom
internet,
of-
freedom of, this is
expression.
ours. So I believe that's the first thing. What will he do? What will you do, Mark, when somebody, like what they did to Ruth? What will she do? Where's her recourse? What's your recourse? Because if you had, you would have done it already, right, Ruth? Oh, but what do you do when you have a platform that says, I'm here? The only person who is able to control what they do on the internet is you.
I'm thinking more of why not have people managing the account who will verify everything before.
You
I
can,
don't
you
think
can
it's-
have.
And
Mark,
who
you can,
Mark, I don't
you
think
can
it's
have
even-
all those.
I-
You can
yeah.
have all those.
Yeah.
You can do everything. Does not mean even when he was writing what he wrote, does not mean that all precautions were not taken care of. But let me tell you, there are videos, deepfakes. You wait until we get to augmented reality. You
I'm
have
with you.
not seen.
Have your say on this, then we
I
move
think
forward.
for me, my final word on this, and I'm glad we actually brought this conversation.
Yeah.
I don't think Muduma saw the take I'm about to take, which is the fact that a great percentage of the abductions that have been taking place in Kenya have been government's response to young people overexerting or exceeding their limits of the social media platforms use. So I think it's a critical conversation we should be having, because the thing is, government has exceedingly reacted to young people who have found themselves being excited on social media and posting these things that Gabriel Muduma has spoken about, putting leaders in coffins. And we even had the president in rallies talking about how, if you put somebody in a coffin, probably you too deserve to be put in a coffin. So it's a serious conversation. It's beyond the misuse of social media, and also boils down to how tolerant is this government? Uhuru Kenyatta faced the same thing. How did he deal with it?
He
He said, you
closed
know
his
what?
account.
You guys,
closed his account.
social media is not for me. After all, I'm even an old man. Let me leave the space for you. But this current president doesn't seem to realize that, you know what, by being president in itself, he's already too powerful.
Yeah.
Let the young people have their field day if that's what they want to do.
Honestly,
and
Ruth-
by the way, let me tell you, he is the one fueling young people to continue posting these things, because when you react to somebody, you fuel them. If somebody is on a negative tangent, especially personally, I see it on social media. Anytime somebody is insulting me on social media, if I come back with negative insults in reaction to the person, I fuel it. People join the conversation, and I am insulted even further. And whenever I choose not to respond,
It dies out.
it dies out. So please, advise. The president has your ear. Young people are complaining of being abducted. Some of them have never been found to date because of their exercise of their freedom of expression. And of course, realize they are young. They still don't understand sometimes the effects of doing these things, Because earlier when I was younger, Muduma, I used to insult people back on social media. Then I realized it was affecting my profile. They still haven't gotten to the age of realizing that there are consequences to there's a digital footprint that can affect your life. So deal with them as kids. Don't deal with them like some rebels in Uganda who are trying to overthrow.
I mean, you have to admit,
No. What I'll admit to. No. What I'll admit to. First of all, Ruth, I don't think there has been a time where the president condoned abductions, and I want to say it here again. The president that I serve, the government that I'm in, has never stood on any platform to say we condone abductions.
I wish
never
we could replace some kids.
There's what you say, and then there's what is happening.
No. You see, and we need to get this straight. Constitutionally, the police is an independent institution, right? Where our laws are very clear, Mark, and I also want to be very clear. When somebody has done something wrong, they are arrested, they are taken to a court of law. That is the line of constitution and law and order that we follow, or that must be followed as per the constitution. Now, Mark, I am not, and I will not agree when somebody says that the president is abducting. There's nothing that can be far
Abductions
from
Abductions are taking place
happening
under his watch.
under his watch as
Yeah.
Say that.
commander-in-chief.
What we must also be alive to is that there could be rogue elements. Have we not seen policemen taken to court? There are policemen right now as we speak who are in court. There are policemen who murdered some members of the DCI and some members of the National Intelligence Service are today in court.
So you're putting this at the foot of the...
So
No,
are we-
I am
are we
telling you
admitting-
what. No,
Are we
it's not about
admitting it's happening?
No, no,
Because
no, no,
the
no.
thing is,
I am
we've
telling
had
you,
this debate.
Ruth.
Mark, we've had
I
this
am
debate
saying, I am
where
saying,
government comes and says these young people are taking themselves to Airbnbs and having a good time with their girlfriends, and then their families are raising alarms that they are being abducted. Then on the other side of the
For
coin,
instance-
they now say there are people, the police officers in court.
yes,
So what is
because
it?
no.
Which is which?
Ruth, where I don't want
Because
us.
the young people
no,
get
Ruth,
angry.
Where I
They
don't
get
want us,
angry.
Where I
Yes.
don't want us to get
Yeah.
to convolute this conversation is when a rogue person does something. Yeah, you will always have bad apples in any institution. In any institution you'll have, but there is a law to deal with those rogue elements.
Okay.
And that is why, and hopefully we'll repeat this statement as we move along, that is the reason why, upon swearing in, the president did two amazing things. People didn't recognize why he did so. The first one was to give financial autonomy to those key institutions, the judiciary and the National Police Service. So that...
We'll get to the
No.
judiciary.
So that there is no arm twisting and those craziness we used to hear orders from above. And I would want us to keep, reminding people of this, of the independence of these institutions. And that's why I keep insisting, and I'll continue insisting. If there is something that has been done in the line of duty, we have groups like IPOA. We have internal mechanisms. Just the other day, you saw policemen who are collecting bribes being arrested. We have seen this happen.
But is it
happening.
effective?
No, it is effective. It is effective. What I want us, I think, to really focus our minds on is there is nobody who is supposed to commit a crime. Doesn't matter where they are. Our law is very clear. Nobody is above the law, including the head of state himself, and go scot-free. And that is why the president keeps insisting we have mechanisms to deal with everybody.
Well, probably they're ineffective because it's still going on.
Yeah, Muduma, for me, my only problem is that as a deputy government spokesperson, you are very good at communicating, you're very good at saying what the government ought to say.
I am good.
Maybe it is about time, and you're very good at your job. Maybe it's about time you sit down with your government and actually have those conversations of, before we put out a statement about an issue, what is our joint opinion on this? Because when these conversations about whether abductions are taking place or not started, you had you had government going all in, denying that it is happening. You had people who speak on behalf of government on media, because we know the government has people who speak on its behalf.
Yes.
Some of them even holding positions. We had them going to media stations. And you see, the thing is, the president will never come to, probably the president might never come to sit with Mark and give his opinion about what is happening. But we know the president will speak through his people. Yeah. When the people's president, some whom have even been appointed to actual government positions, go on media houses and say things, crazy things like, these young people, there's no abductions taking place. They are somewhere in lodgings having a good time. crazy things like such things are not happening, crazy things like nobody has died from abductions, and yet there are families that are finding bodies, submerged in dams and actually burying people. And sometimes some of these conversations hurt Kenyans because the thing is, communication, when things happen, when things go wrong, how you respond to them can either quail down a mass of people that are truly angry or even ignite them further to, become even more aggressive. I'll give you an example of how the finance, I will tell you for sure, when the finance bill protests were taking place, this is what happened. Young people were not happy with the bill that was being proposed. Young people said, you are the people who are either going to pass this bill or let this bill flop. What mechanism did they come up with? We are going to talk to our leaders. And you see, the thing is, the fact that you're in a leadership position, the first thing you should always be ready to deal with is people talking trash, is people insulting you. So some young people, a great percentage of them were very objective. They would reach out to the members of parliament and say, Mheshimiwa, please, this bill is affecting us in A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H ways. How were the MPs responding?
Right.
You could see some MPs clearly telling you, you know what, Mark? I have made millions for myself and my generation, my current kids, and even my great-grandchildren. There's nothing you're telling me. I will pass this bill. Some of them would insult you and tell you, you don't have money, go and look for a job. And it is this, communication can break or build a country. One simple statement can make or build or break a country.
Now you're addressing what an MP said. No, there's something you've said and I don't want to get lost in that thought. You mentioned. I remember 3 cases, and it's good actually we put them in perspective. The first case that you're talking about, the kid who was found to have drowned
floating in a dam. Yeah,
the family confirmed it was an accidental drowning. That was confirmed. The family came out.
When did the family confirm?
No, it was confirmed.
So Rex Masai's family.
The other one.
The Kitengela Three's family. The ones who've publicly come out and say government is police officers were involved.
Since she has you, she's asking for context for all those cases.
So the other one was a hit and run. Family came out and they said, yes, on Thika Road. The family said, no. Please do not put our, again, misinformation. The third one, obviously, was about the lady who people had come out and said, she's been abducted. She saw her photo on social media, just like what you said about your photo. And someone said, no, me. The other cases, obviously, that you saw. And here, it's good to be.
And I feel like you're cherry picking.
No, I'm not cherry picking. Let me tell you, it's good to be mindful.
Gabriel,
listen,
the more you talk like that.
Sasa, now you see.
I'm just being honest.
No, I'm finishing
the more
a point.
You talk like that, the more you will incite people. Because don't forget that over 70 young people were missing at some point. And they would come out and say, I was clearly somewhere with police officers.
And I heard that story. I've heard
some were shot. Like, who shot them?
Ruth, I've nearly heard those stories. Yeah? We've heard in the past. We have seen. For instance, there was a policeman called Rashid.
The Isili one.
The Isili one. Shot a child, broad daylight on the streets, murdered them. Where is Rashid today?
He's about to face justice.
Ruth, are you getting you're getting where I'm going? Yeah?
But what about
I am talking about, no. I am talking about, not that one. Not that one. There are many officers today that are in court. Yeah? For one reason or the other, where they did not follow the law. Yeah? I know people, and I have seen, including people who are very well known, who have been arrested. Yeah?
Is this in relation to the Gen Z?
Yeah, taken to jail. No.
But most of them are emanating from the
correct.
The protests.
Yes.
Right?
But and others
protests against the government.
Right? But the key thing for us to remember is there's a law. The law must be followed by all of us. Now, that's why I was very, very picky on my words, that nobody is above the law. A policeman may wake up and decide to do something illegal. They are liable in the eyes of the law. They are liable in the eyes of the law. And that's why I want to bring the independence of these institutions.
If indeed there's that independence and the demarcation is clear that the commander-in-chief respects that, then why would he take a national stage at that, alongside the opposition leader would call him Raila Odinga and say, Imaneno itaisha?
It's not the first time. You're
stop the
forgetting, Mark.
abduction.
No, it's not the first time.
Yeah, this is most
He
recent.
came out. No.
Yeah.
That's the most recent.
Yes.
There was a
After
time he
several-
had made
after several denials.
He had said when he took over power, he said several things.
There's
He
when
said,
he took
we will
over power.
not even as we move along. Even when he started, he said,
But you
will
forget
never,
you forget
you
the-
will never find bodies in River Yala
But aren't they there?
by government.
Aren't they there?
Some that were being taken to Obadeas.
Aren't
they are
they
fed
there?
to animals. In other words, what we are saying, we are never going back
But we,
to where we
But
were
we are
before.
there.
Wait a minute. No.
It's even
no.
worse.
what republic are you talking
At what point? Give me during Uhuru's regime a time where over 70 young people were missing.
No. We are getting it wrong.
No,
We're
I just
getting
want
it
to
wrong.
know, like, just,
No.
in a period of 3 months, give me a scenario
We are-
during Uhuru's time.
We are getting it wrong.
Yeah?
We are getting
Give me
it
a
wrong.
scenario during
you're
Kibaki's time.
You're talking about so many deaths, Ruth, and I don't even want to say half. There are so many things you can't confirm in that statement. And that's why I would really want us to go with facts. You've just mentioned here, while I was seated here, bodies in the dam, a body in the dam. I've just confirmed to you. The family came out.
Which body are you referring to? Because I'm
one-
talking about Denzel.
Which one?
Denzel,
The one in
the
Kasarani.
young man who was involved in the demos.
The one in
Clearly was
Kasarani. There
involved
one,
in the demos.
No, there was one in
Yes.
Kasarani. The one I'm talking about is the one the family came out to say no.
Now I'm
This one was
talking about
reported.
Denzel, the young
coroner
person
said
who was clearly involved in the protests and clearly murdered.
and went missing and was found.
Clearly
unless-
murdered.
To be honest, unless that
That's
one
why
I'm
I'm
not heard
saying
of,
you're cherry
unless-
picking.
Unless that
And
one
as
I'm
you do
not heard
so,
of,
there's a family,
unless that one I'm not heard
there's a
of.
family and a whole group of friends and people who know Denzel who listen to you and wonder,
No,
are you
no.
really
No.
playing with our intelligence?
No, it's not about playing with intelligence.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is this. What I know, and I've really tried to confirm, is that every item that has been reported to the police there are investigations being carried. All right? And I very well, and I agree, I'm not the police spokesman, but I know for sure this is a question that we've asked. Same way you are asking, what happened here? What happened to this? Because I know I'll come and sit down with somebody like you, and you'll demand answers.
Yeah,
I'll sit down with
demand
Kenyans, and they will demand answers. So I also want to know, same way I go with information, what is happening here? Not told, by the way, this is where the investigations have reached. This is the report that we've been waiting. These are the people we are talking to. All right? But Ruth, let's not forget.
I think the
let's
concern
not
of
forget.
Kenyans, as
I
we move
do
on,
not want,
because I
do
think
not
there's a
want-
bigger debate here.
Yes, I do
the
not want
concern
us
of
to get to a
Kenyans-
point where
the
we'll
concern
say
of Kenyans is
a life
this.
of a Kenyan is lost.
Yeah.
One life lost is one too many.
One too many.
Yeah.
So the
I don't
concern
want to
of
get-
Kenyans,
yeah.
The concern
as
of
we
Kenya-
close, because I'm interested in the bigger debate.
Yeah.
The concern of Kenyans is that you'll sit here, tell us there are people in court, there are people who are currently facing the justice system.
Right.
We are hoping that justice will be delivered, but there's still a repetition of what you're saying, you're putting to an end. You see, the thing is, if let's say a robbery happens in this building and investigations are truly top-notch, there's top-notch investigations happening,
Right.
we shouldn't expect that even as the investigations are being done, another robbery to take place. If a robbery happens here, the management will, number one, beef up security.
Right.
They will probably review and the security measures, and you will never hear of a robbery in the next 10 plus years. Why is it that, why would the government, why would the president tell us, first of course, there was a lot of denial, there was a lot of calling young people who are exercising their democratic rights as, criminals and thugs,
Yeah.
prisoners, criminals and thugs that need to be dealt with. And even up until very recently, there was a whole clip that came out of Eldoret of him, speaking in his native language, saying that you put me in a coffin, you should also be put in the same coffin. So, yeah.
Was that interpreted correctly, Ruth?
No. We were interpreted. That was interpreted by people who speak that language.
No.
And clearly, if I speak to 5 people who speak that language, and
So
they
you're
tell
saying
me,
that's not what he's
and
saying?
they
No,
tell
it's
me
not what I'm saying,
Huduma, and they tell me
because-
that is exactly what he's saying. Clearly, 5 people cannot.
No,
be wrong.
what I don't want
so
us,
the point I'm
Ruth,
trying
what
to
I
put across.
don't want us to
No, the
condone
point I'm
as
trying to put
experts,
across.
as
Yes,
communicators and somebody like you, who's actually a lawyer, probably before you say cut and half, you may be. And I'm praying for you to be a judge, probably.
No, I won't be a judge.
Yeah? Or somebody.
the plans.
Yeah.
Or somebody who will have, or even sit in parliament.
Yeah, of
somebody
course,
who will
yes,
be
yes.
able to make laws.
Yeah.
Right? When you do so, when you make laws, you would want them to be very well and effectively laid down, that people can follow the laws that you make. All right? And it's the case with all of us, to be honest, Ruth. It's a case with all of us. We can mention other jurisdictions that are sometimes are way, way crazier in dealing with these matters, but you'll never hear them involving someone like the head of state. All right?
Or they do all the time.
For instance, you remember the cases that happened to somebody like Floyd in Minnesota, Minneapolis. So many others have happened. But the local jurisdictions, they deal with it. All right? Does it mean it won't happen the next day? No, it will continue. But what happens? Somebody is made to pay for those mistakes.
Well,
people are in jail. And that is the same thing. What I do not want us to blanket here is people committing heinous crimes and let loose. That, my president promised, that will never happen again. And probably that is one thing we need to look into when it comes to reforms. Because sometimes that is exactly what we need to change, our environment. When there's pure and total reforms, even within the police force, that's when somebody will say, wait a minute, am I doing the right thing by the Constitution? Because there's no way in the Constitution you'll find somebody saying, if this person is unarmed, if they are walking right, if they are doing it, you cannot just go as a police officer and start threatening or shooting.
There's what's on paper, but there's what's happening, and it's far from
when you say it is on paper, I'm hoping you're saying it's what the law says in the Constitution.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Do you know?
Then there's what is happening.
We swear allegiance to our Constitution, all of us.
But how many people raise a Bible and
but do we observe it?
And that is now that's what we want happening.
Okay.
And it's not only to them, but even to me and you.
The situation with abductees in the country is far from ideal, because one death or one abduction is one too
many. And I agree with you.
And that should end at that. So let's move forward now to the conversation that we actually really wanted to. A good spinner. Good job.
Very good.
Yeah, very good.
It's kept us.
Ruth, did you just say I'm a good spinner?
I know you.
So now, today, President William Ruto held a joint press briefing with the leader of opposition, if we could still call him that, because things are changing right now, and what we could call the immediate former AUC chairman candidate, because they said they wanted to have full closure on this particular campaign that was, and we know it's failed because the chairmanship position went to Djibouti's Mahmoud Ali Yusuf. So, in your view, first of all, because we know what is said and what is on camera. Both came out, the president congratulating Raila Odinga for a good job, a good run. And Raila saying, and that this is still a success. I've come back home. It's still a success. I've come to take on the other things that are pressing back home, and also defending that it didn't cost 13 billion. So in your eyes, in terms of optics, what was this, first of all, this particular press briefing, aside of what they said, bringing closure to what's happening, what were they really saying or not saying?
There's always the agenda they will give the public, and then there's the private agenda.
Yes.
Then there's even the inner, what is it called? There's the inner room and the something,
So
I'm not spinning. I know these things. I've been in this space.
Yeah.
So there's the agenda that we will tell you. There's the agenda we will feed the public with, which is we are seeking closure. They sought closure in Addis after they lost, And that now the real thing that is happening, or that was happening, is we are asking ourselves, Baba is not where we thought he would be. The only reason why the president would invest that much in that campaign, because the truth of the matter is a lot of money went into that campaign. I mean, is it the control of budget, or there's a statement that was issued that was flagging off a certain 2-point-something billion shillings, apparently that went towards the AU activities, taxpayers' money. So the thing is, the only conversation these people were having, and it's the conversation that ensued immediately after Baba lost, was what next?
Yes.
Which is, we thought you were going. And probably in our heads and in our hearts, we were praying so hard that you go. Because this would have changed, definitely, whether we liked it or not, it would have changed how the politics of the country was going to play.
True.
This would mean that in as much as Baba's people keep saying Addis is 2 hours away, he can quickly just take a flight, not even 2 hours, 15 minutes, he can take a flight and go back to Addis. Once he become the AUC chair, the politics of the country, the politics of ODM, the politics of everybody else, and even the opposition, the new opposition, would have completely changed. People were already planning themselves in a certain way. Even I will admit, even us from DAP, We had our expectations. We wanted Mzee, we wanted him fixed in a good position, proper retirement package, and allow us to play our opposition politics. Yeah. Now, I will be very honest, we are finding ourselves in a position where we are asking ourselves, what next? Because we don't know. Mzee is coming back, or he's back. Does this mean that he is now continuing with his alliance with William Ruto? Because knowing Mzee, knowing Baba and how he reasons and how he plays out his politics, I don't know about others, and I don't know about Muduma, and maybe this is a warning to him, that Mzee plays very seasonal politics. He plays the politics of today. So the politics of today is that, you see, he hasn't gotten it. And in his mind is planning what next. Yeah. What next for him could be, now entrench myself in government, now pay back the loyalty that the president showed me during that period of time when I was seeking this big seat. Repay back that loyalty, or I'm back. You thought I had gone? I'm back. Yeah. So my friends that I had abandoned in Azimio, can we catch up over a cup of tea and discuss where we are going? Because the thing is, Raila Odinga is aware of what is happening politically. He's aware, and I know right now he's being told that, number one, your alliance with William Ruto was probably a big mistake because of how it has affected the following that you had. We will not sit here and pretend that there is not a big percentage or a significant, let me not say big, a significant percentage of people who are subscribers of Baba's ideologies and politics who suddenly pulled away from withdrew their support from him because according to them, they are principalists. According to them, they are ideologists. They follow an ideology. So there are people who can never reconcile that in the past election, you sold this guy to us as the worst thing that we can ever think about. And as a result of that, we voted for you. Then, less than a year down the line, you're telling us this is the best thing since sliced bread. So, because I know where I am going, because I know what I believe in, there's no way today this person was bad, tomorrow he's suddenly good. So if he was bad yesterday and you sold it to me and I believed in it, if you come and tell me tomorrow that he's good, please, you be with him. Me, I'm here. I'm still left here where I'm convinced that he's a bad person or that he's somebody that I cannot support, whose ideologies I don't believe in. So he must have lost a chunk of the people who support him. Yeah. Who are these people? These are, number one, for example, Kalonzo supporters who voted with Kalonzo for Baba. These are Eugene Wamalwa supporters, a good percentage, a big percentage, by the way to say. Fifth largest party, who voted for Baba because they believed, because Eugene sold to them that Baba is a good man. Yeah. You have Martha Karua supporters who voted, the few who voted for Baba, who now realize that, you know what, if Martha is maintaining her position that this William Ruto bus we are not boarding, we are also not boarding. So that is a very huge percentage. I mean, Kalonzo comes with a vote basket of millions. Eugene comes with a significant vote basket. The other, Martha Karua, in as much as you'd want to downplay, maybe because of the numbers she brought from her backyard, because of the politics of that particular time, she comes with a significant chunk of people who believe in what she says in. So those people are out. So now the conversation today was not closure, it was not the billions that were squandered, which they were, in my opinion. Clearly, billions were squandered that could have gone to other uses, like, for example, boosting our healthcare system and and very many other things that could have been done with that money. It is about now, what next? Is Baba going back to his Azimio brothers and sisters? Is Baba maintaining his position with Ruto? And Baba also sometimes is a very serious negotiator. He can easily just, I can almost suspect probably why the urgency of today's meeting was probably he's already issuing ultimatums. Yes. PSs are being appointed. How many are you giving me? You're either giving me this percentage or I'm out. So you people have your own plans. You had your own plans of who you are going to appoint as PSs. Yeah. Now you have to come back to the drawing board because Baba is making demands. Remember, immediately after AUC, there was already talk about how are we going to accommodate Raila Odinga in this bread-based government? Here he is. He already has his share. He already has his share. How do we ensure that his share is so solidified so that we maintain him? Because the truth of the matter is, William Ruto on this other side, the president, has lost, let's not lie to each other, a significant also support considerable support of the gamer community, because there is the gamer community who supported him simply because Rigathi Gachagua told them, this man is good. Now Rigathi is now on platforms and podiums telling people, this is the worst decision we've ever made.
Yes.
This man has betrayed our community. He is the worst. He's even warning us, the lawyers, and telling us, don't fall for the Musangarile. Don't fall for that.
Now I see the reason why this guy is losing.
You see?
I see the reason
Now you
why.
see the reason why?
Don't
I see why she loses.
Votes.
What, on her side? Yeah.
Votes. I see why she loses
I've never
votes.
been a candidate. The day I will be a presidential candidate.
I think he's talking about your side.
Yeah,
Your
so
side,
now,
yeah.
So the point is this, that everybody has lost and is gaining.
Yeah.
People are gaining and losing. You know, like, for example, I will tell you, as DAP, we are gaining bigly. I mean, every day we are receiving
So the rebrand the other
defectors.
day.
We are reaping from defectors of Raila Odinga. Very many of them, aspirants and people who just want to dissociate from the Odinga politics.
Yeah.
So people are gaining and losing, and now everybody's sitting back and saying, we are back to the table. What next? And I can guarantee you, in the next PS positions, Raila Odinga is going to win bigly.
If an agreement or negotiations go as he plans.
Agreements and negotiations clearly have been reached. I've never seen
this-
Raila Odinga that excited to high five William Ruto. I saw that photo. I was like, these people are very good friends. You know, it's
You know, I'm liking. You know, I can't believe.
He's smiling from this other
You know,
side.
I'm liking. You know, I'm liking. What we didn't tell you.
I don't know if you're answering as deputy government spokesman or government analyst. Government analyst.
What I didn't tell you
yeah.
is that we have a very nice history with Ruth when she
Yeah.
started out going on TV.
Yeah.
And I have actually liked to see. I love what she's become.
Yeah.
Yeah. She has had her episodes, and sometimes I just watch TV and Ruth, and I tell people, that's my girl.
Yeah.
She's doing very well.
And I also like what, you know, and to a point, at some point, because, you know, things change. Let me be honest, never did see you sit in the deputy or in the government spokesperson's
Man, we were
office
with this guy.
based on other, you know,
Yeah,
positions
guy.
that you've held before.
We were once on the same side.
Opinions. Yes.
Where did you lose the bigger picture?
Things change.
So
and
now
they do change.
from where you sit,
Yeah. No.
what was today's joint briefing?
not even
What
today,
was
man.
it saying? I want you first to answer.
Yeah. And before I do, because that's an amazing questions, let me say, an amazing set of questions. First of all, I can tell you from the office I sit in, but also I'll try a little bit from somebody, to wear my cap that we wore back in the day with Ruth.
Yeah.
But allow me to say that I still believe wholeheartedly, even though the coveted prize wasn't ours at AU, I still believe Baba was the best person for that seat.
Okay.
He truly was.
And that is something that can never be taken away from him. Probably what we say the gods did not favor, but that can never be taken away from him.
All right.
There is the Baba that we know politically, but there's also the Baba,
The diplomat.
the diplomat.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. There's Baba, the diplomat. There's Baba, the peacemaker. Many people have probably never seen that. But it was, when 2011, when he was still the prime minister? He was the first, he was actually the one involved. Again, the AU envoy in West Africa, you remember, in Cote d'Ivoire with Ouattara, and you know, it was him who was sent by the group. So that just shows you the kind of person we are dealing with.
Yeah.
You cannot forget Baba, who's who seeks consensus. He's a consensus builder.
2007.
2000, whether we like it, I honestly believe we
We lost.
just needed to, not us, but the people who are making the choices. It actually took me aback, Mark, to remember the words of Marx. You know, he says, was it Max Simmon? In his poem, Desiderata, you know, he says something very cool. He says, speak your truth quietly, you know,
Go plus.
and slowly.
Okay.
But most importantly, he goes on to say, listen to others, because even the dull and the ignorant, they too have their story.
All right.
And I only feel people did not listen to Baba's story. because he has one of the most amazing stories.
You guys didn't sell it.
Yeah, it's
That-
not about us selling. No,
No, you didn't sell it well.
We're past that. He didn't get it. It went to Mahmoud.
But I'm saying he would have been.
Yes,
would have
the
been
best. Yes.
Yeah.
Well done.
So
well done. You're managing this conversation.
yeah. So
I hear you.
my salute as
to
we
him.
talk. My salute to him, to the president, for really throwing in every ounce of energy that he had. We saw what the DGNIS did. We saw what the team did. You cannot take anything away from them. They left the fight, everything they had in the arena.
All right.
And I salute them for that this evening.
Okay.
However, what does today mean? Ruth has actually tried to put things I would somewhat tease out of what you've said. You know, she always teases me of cherry picking.
Yeah.
Out of what she said, there's one thing I don't see Baba doing. It does not matter how many people knock on his door. I know many people want Baba to join them on their political shoreline. But this one I'll tell you. Baba will not join any ethnic people who just want to balkanize and seek revenge. That one, forget seeing Baba there. Whoever it is, you will not see him there. He's past that. He's past that.
Whether there's any
Do you know
benefit
Baba?
to his
Well,
survival or
he is
not?
past that. That one I can guarantee you.
He's done it
What
in the
Baba is
past.
looking for, what Honorable Raila Odinga is looking for, is, and you know, you'll agree with me, I've been a very good political analyst back in the day.
Yeah.
Things have called, and I'm not bragging, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm not bragging in any way, shape, or form. And I want to remain as humble as they come. Years passed, and many people will agree. I have done my very level best to analyze things in a broad spectrum of honesty.
Okay.
When Baba, where he is today, he is writing a chapter of how he wants to be remembered politically. So he will not play around with what people want him to do. He's past that. Baba is past being twisted. Oh, the way I hear people are calling me, now come join us, help us, did you do what? Help us. Baba
is
not
calling
going-
him?
Oh, you've not seen. Probably you've not seen, but you'll hear very, very soon. People want him probably to join them in their cause of vengeance. And I can guarantee you here, Mark, this evening, mark the dates, Baba will not join such causes.
Okay.
He won't.
And he will lose.
Because, no, it's not about losing. It's not about losing, Ruth. It's not about losing. As
So what
long
does
as
he-
he stands, right?
What does he gain? Just legacy?
No.
Is that all that he's, as you say, he's
when-
writing a chapter in his legacy?
Can-
So if he's not losing, he's gaining.
Yes, can I tell you something?
What is he gaining?
Baba right now will gain a lot by just being the person or the reformer he has been. Nobody seated here, including Ruth, and Ruth has been very close. You cannot take any single iota of what Baba has done for this country. Can never be taken away from him. So what he will be looking for is, what will we, or what am I going to be remembered for? And that's why even the AU seat really is that strategic for him.
Okay.
And I'll remind you something. It's good that we learn these lessons, Mark. From where he's seated, I think Baba will do more consensus building than the politics that people want him to indulge in.
Okay. He has said today,
Yes.
I'm going into
talk.
widespread consultation.
Correct.
And watch the space.
And
I will make
you
an
know,
amendment.
I like
listen,
how
listen, that conversation. No,
wait.
repeat that. Repeat that sentence.
I've had it.
No.
And she's
No.
even watched.
Maybe for the
Ruth,
audience, I've had
Ruth,
it.
Yes.
repeat
Yeah,
that.
going for
Repeat.
wide
Yes.
consultations.
Yes.
Within which I will come watch the space.
Wait.
I will make
I've
a-
mentioned
Now-
consensus, a consensus builder.
What is consensus?
Back in the day, probably,
The
Baba would have
problem,
said,
Huduma,
what probably you guys people are waiting for, Akina Ruth, is I'm going this direction.
No,
because that's what they think.
what is
But now,
consensus?
Baba
Consensus
now
is
You see,
agreement
the
on the way
problem
forward.
that
is
Muduma
building,
is
is going
telling
to build
us,
consensus
Muduma
on.
has just told us what Baba will not do. So he is already locking Baba out of consensus.
No.
Because what is consensus?
No, so now you are the one spinning.
But
No,
what's
I'm
consensus?
not spinning. You
No,
already said.
No, where I'm saying Baba,
you already said.
where I'm saying you'll not find
Yes.
Honorable Raila Odinga,
Yes.
aka our Baba.
Yes.
You'll not find him
In tribal
ethnic-
politics.
You won't.
Or, of course,
You won't.
for sure. He's
That is
never
something
been,
is-
So
no,
he's
the
past
truth
that.
of the matter is
So
that
the people who are calling him in
Muduma,
are
what your
in
point is now
their
is
ethnic enclaves.
She's
Can I
echoing.
just
They want to
say
bring Baba
something?
in.
She's echoing
You know,
what you said about
I'm just trying to.
consensus.
I'm really trying to put you back to focus, and also just demystify what you have said, which is Baba is not going to play tribal politics.
Yes.
He has never played tribal politics.
But you
so
see,
it
there
is
are so many
not-
people who want
no
to
one
bring
is
him in.
No one is expecting
Ati-
Baba to play.
ati Baba kuja utusaidie.
No, listen.
Tushinde.
No
Why, come on.
one is expecting Baba to play tribal politics because that has never been who he is.
Correct.
Baba has always received support from across the country,
Correct.
including even Mount Kenya, where they
Yes.
always said
Yes.
he will never get support.
To his
in
point of
fact, in my
consensus?
opinion,
Yeah.
he's the only candidate throughout the years of vying for presidency who has always gotten votes across every part of the country. There are people who have won with a tribal matrix of 2 tribes. Plus, plus a quarter of another.
Some might call
Plus
that
a quarter
consensus.
of another.
What she's describing.
So
is that
he's
consensus?
never, nobody is
No.
expecting him to play tribal politics.
Okay.
And also, Muduma seems to be telling us indirectly that there are people who we should not expect Baba to play politics. You know Baba. Do you know Baba? I met you when you were in Uhuru's camp.
Yes.
At a time when nobody ever thought that these two would shake hands. In fact, I remember the day Baba shook hands with Uhuru.
We were with him in
I
studio.
was in a
I
studio
was with him,
somewhere.
yeah. Actually, I was back.
You see, were we with him? I don't
No,
know, but I
studio.
was in a studio somewhere.
But
wait a minute.
But remember the back.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
And you have to
Let me
tell us the
finish.
why.
Let her
Tell us the
finish.
why.
Let me finish.
You're on Uhuru's
I was
side
in
and
a
you'd never
studio
been imagined.
somewhere
Yeah.
in Baba's team, very ready to say the way Baba can never. Nobody even thought a handshake was coming. At that time, remember, people were dying,
Yeah.
and the translation of that conversation at the time was these were ethnic targeted deaths, and killings, because at that time, to be honest, it was predominantly people from one tribe that were, the victims of excesses of police brutality at that time, So the conversation at the time was that it was a very tribal politics. It was Wajaluo ni wako hivi, it was Wakikuyu wako hivi, it was a tribal conversation.
Yeah.
Then me, I'm there on media, very ready to say the way we are on this side and this is what we are supporting. I'm seeing these people are shaking hands. So the thing is, Muduma, never sit somewhere and think you know Baba. Just because you people have spent one year with him, you don't know Baba. Baba can wake up tomorrow and say, this Rigiji is speaking the language of the people.
Which
I
one?
am with him.
Which one?
Baba can wake up, because one
Ethnicity.
thing, let me tell you, you are saying,
Ethnicity.
listen, you
Mutu
are talking,
Mitego.
can I tell you something?
You.
Can
You
I
are
tell you
being-
something? Listen.
Ruth, be serious. No.
Muduma, let me tell you something, yeah?
Tell me.
Here's the thing. You are saying what Baba cannot do. Me, I will tell you what Baba will always do.
What will he
And
do?
let's talk about what is predictable. Baba's predictability is eventually he will always try to be on the side of the people.
Correct.
And we, as the people who are currently in opposition, really pray that he remembers that he has always been on the side of the people. Because right now, the Baba we are seeing, we are surprised. Yeah, we are surprised to see a Baba who is in a regime with a government that clearly has zero concern and zero regard. Number one, for the lives of young people. Number two, for the freedoms that are guaranteed by the Constitution.
Which
Number
ones?
three, for the social
Ruth.
issues. Listen,
Freedom of
for the
expression,
social
first of
issues
all.
that affect Kenyans right now. We are having a crisis. We have a health crisis right now. We have an education crisis right now. We have 1,000,001 crises.
Ruth.
I don't even know the plural of crises
Crises, yeah.
that we are dealing with, which shows us Baba, for the first time in his predictable history of being on the side of the people, is against the people.
Ruth, let me help you.
So the
Let me
only
help you.
thing
Let
that
me
we
help
can
you.
pray
Let me help you.
The
I
only
think
thing that we can pray for is that at one point, Baba will wake up and realize, I am no longer with the people.
No.
The people are also no longer with me.
No.
And let me tell you, for him, Baba will always say, and we pray that he remembers, that you know what? The people come first. And for the truth of the matter of the Kenyan politics right now is, you might have been somebody who never really cared about the people. Then along the way, you found a Damascus moment. You might have been somebody who, for the first 2 years of you being in power, were preaching a shareholding government. Then you realized you woke up and you realize that, you know what, this thing can no longer be a shareholding thing. Everybody deserves to be treated equally.
Correct. There, I agree with you on the shareholding. I agree with you.
Exactly. And now you
so
have
unless you're telling me Baba
what
is
I'm
going to
trying
join
tell
hands with
you-
somebody who believes in shareholding.
No,
where I want to help you. Where I want to help you.
She's basically saying he's not
I'm getting
predictable.
somewhere.
Okay.
That if Baba realizes that this person who once was setting traps and preaching shareholding suddenly realizes that, you know what, actually the people come first. Yeah, and is now speaking the language of the people, and is now consulting the people, and is now pushing the agenda of the people. And then here I am as Baba, who has always been doing this thing for all these years. I'm suddenly going the opposite direction. I hope the people around him advise him that if you continue that direction, that is not, if you continue joining hands with people who are not for the people will go against you. So we pray that in this consultative era of Baba, this Baba's consultative era, he remembers the history he has set, he remembers the things he has been fighting for, and realizes that where he is right now, he is in a space that does not respect that history. He is in a space that blatantly disregards that history. Whenever did you ever think of Baba being in a position where his political friends from neighboring countries are being abducted in his own country, and he's not making a statement? This Baba is very new. He's under strange influence. We pray that during this consultative era, he remembers to go back to where he has always
Gabriel,
been.
in your government political
things,
analyst, your expertise in the past.
Yes.
This, what she's saying, is not the Raila you would have back in the day.
He was
Where
not.
something like that, Bessie is being abducted.
And he says nothing.
And he doesn't make
Let me.
That's true.
That's
true. Baba would be the first to speak.
You know where I see it.
True of
I cannot
course.
second guess. I cannot second guess my PS and the reasons as to why that happened. I cannot second guess.
Okay.
But very quickly, I think it's the high time we define the people and what the people want. Last time I checked, the people wanted their welfares to be taken care of.
Are they being
Their
taken care of?
welfares to be, and I repeat again, welfares in plural, to be taken care of. Whether you're looking at it in matters education, matters health, matters food, matters economy, where much of where we are today, that's where we get the spirit of survival. That's where we get our livelihood. That's where we get our survival as a nation. All right? When you look at food today, honestly, would you say the food basket
Would I
is
say?
better today than it was 2 years ago?
It is not.
Oh my goodness.
Trust me. And by the way,
where are you living?
let me tell you
Where are
something.
living? No.
Well,
These
I
are
will
facts.
ask you.
When you look at the petrol prices, the fuel prices, you can't
Listen,
it was-
Muduma,
when you look at our economy today,
Muduma.
when you look at how stabilized our economy today, Ruth, you
that's
must have
you.
flown in
Listen,
from.
that
You
is
must
you.
have flown in from a very.
Gabriel,
That is you.
because-
Listen,
Gabriel
Mark,
Muduma.
let me respond.
I'm-
Just allow me to respond. That is you looking at the economy. Then there is me experiencing the economy. The fuel prices might be low, but do I
Not
have?
might.
Listen,
They are.
Lower.
it is
They are
not.
low.
We are not debating.
The economy.
The fuel
Lower
prices
than they
are
were.
lower than the past
You
regime.
cut in. You cut
Can
in.
I tell you something?
I was taking you somewhere, Ruth.
So you
I was
had
taking
accepted that I was
somewhere.
going to rejoin.
I was taking you somewhere.
Because that's
I
a
know.
very, for me, it's a very emotional topic. You know
It's
why?
Not, it's
It
not,
is
it's
an
not.
emotional topic
I was
because
taking you somewhere.
today you will tell me
I
the
was
fuel
taking
prices
you.
are lower than the
I was-
past regime,
I was-
and it is
It's
true.
not even. I'm not even comparing regimes.
Can I
am
say?
telling you
No, it's not
where
even
we
about
are,
regime.
where we are today,
Yeah.
and where we need to go. Ruth,
Yeah.
Very easily.
Yeah.
We are, Mark. We are transforming a country.
Gabriel,
Muduma, I think you don't
years.
want me to finish this statement.
It's not about finishing.
Because,
It's telling me.
no,
You've just
I
spoken
know,
for
I'm
nearly
telling
10
you,
minutes.
I have
You've
not even
just
finished.
spoken for
I
10
just
minutes.
wanted to say this. Quickly respond
Hold
and
on.
say this.
No, I've not
the fuel
finished.
price, because you want to tell us food is cheaper, right? You want to tell us the cost of food has gone down. You want to tell us fuel the price is not what it was maybe
The
2 years
economy has
ago.
stabilized?
No,
The dollar-
has the economy. The thing is fuel low? Yes. Has the economy stabilized? No. Why? Fuel could be low, but do I have money in my pocket to buy that fuel?
Now, let me tell you.
Food could be, listen, food
you know,
could be lower.
a good friend
but
of mine
do I
introduced me.
have- do I have
A
money?
good friend of mine, a
Because
good friend
by
of
all
mine,
indicators,
a good
by all
friend of mine
indicators-
introduced me
Yeah.
to several economists. The first one was economy.
A good friend of yours
Tumbo.
from where?
I'm an MP. An MP here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So an
and he
MP
talks it. No.
an
He
MP
talks
isn't
it.
quite
he
Kenyan.
No.
Like
He's
in
Kenyan.
terms
He's
of
Kenyan.
190
He talks. No.
status.
Very, very. He talks it. He the way he says it is actually very nice because it more or less, tells you the kind of economies that we are dealing with. The economy that you're talking about, he calls it uchumi wa tumbo. Yeah. Are the food prices, are they okay? And then he finishes by where you're going. Uchumi wa mfuko. Uchumi wa mfuko, do you have the money? Do you have the money? Yeah, right? And that's why you see so many young men and women today, many, and I can count so many, some who've even left employment to go and farm. Why? Because they have seen need. I have young men and women today who are exporting avocados. Some are exporting meat.
No, that's
I
not
know
a-
today. Because the environment has been made conducive. The fact that we subsidized fertilizer production, Ruth, you may not know what this has done to over 6 million farmers.
You see-
but today they are saluting this program. They said this is the way we needed to go.
Now,
we
listen.
tried subsidizing unga. You know, there was a time
Now-
we brought unga to 100 shillings back in the day.
Now, listen,
unga was brought to it did not last a month because we were subsidizing consumption at that
Muduma,
particular time.
my
fertilizer
problem,
that had
problem
gravel?
with this administration,
No,
now-
which one?
The fertilizer was full of gravel.
The fertilizer that was full of?
Full of gravel.
Now, that is the best spin that somebody ever made. Now,
Oh, so it was
I am
not.
not saying there are no issues in one NCPD. But, Mark, this is where the media gets it wrong. Out of nearly 6 million bags, 5,000, which is 0.1991, were the ones found. A very small percentage that does not
let's
make
go back.
any economic. But
Let's go
listen,
back, Mark.
look at how we highlighted.
Yeah.
Look at how we highlighted the 5,000 bags.
Yeah.
Yet,
Yeah.
millions of fertilizer
were productive.
and they did what they were supposed to do.
Personally, I
Yes.
have no problem. I have no problem with the fact that the prices of unga went down. I have no problem. I have no problem with the fact that the price of fuel significantly, to some extent, is not as
And
it
that's
was.
why I wanted-
Let
let's
me
to talk
finish.
your economy
I'm
and
actually
Fuko. Hold on.
supporting you.
Yes.
I have no problem with the fact that the price of fuel is not what it was 2 years ago.
Right.
The problem I have is that my mother will be able to afford a packet of unga, or I will be able to afford a packet of unga.
Right.
But on the other end, my mother, who is educating, my brother and sister who are in campus, there is what they have done with the education
Right.
system.
Right.
That now, what the subsidies that were there with school fees are no longer there. So my mom, who was probably paying, who was in the past regime paying maybe 10,000 shillings, is now paying 25,000 shillings per semester for my sister. So when you try to come to a media house and tell her that the economy is doing wonderfully, like that Ugandan man, and yet all she's seeing is that the price of unga has reduced by 50 bob, but the price of school fees, the cost of school fees has increased by 17,000 shillings. It doesn't make sense
Ruth,
to
no,
her.
no, no,
It will not make sense to her.
Given the example that you've used.
And also, by the way, some of these conversations don't even affect the person in the village. Like, you will not come here and tell the person in the village the economy is doing wonderfully because Ruth in Nairobi, who probably drives, can afford fuel. Why? Because the person in the village's concern is not her being able to fuel a car in the village. She doesn't use the car. The person in the village's concern is that in the past regime, and I will go back to regimes, in the past administration, she was paying NHIF. When she was paying NHIF, which was probably the contribution she was making at NHIF, she could walk into a hospital, have her dental, her teeth taken care of. She could walk into a hospital, deliver if she's a pregnant mother without undergoing a lot of costs. And even there was a first lady who really cared about mothers and had a special program. A woman could walk
about
in.
Linda Mama?
Listen, a woman could walk in and deliver, and the costs were very low. She could manage to, take her kid back home. Now there is a mother in the village who says, you know what, I might even lose this child because I don't even have access to that shisha or whatever you people have decided to call it to even confuse us further. Hospitals right now are saying, you know what, putting up notices, we are not going to accept SHA. Because why? There's a lot of issues going on there.
No,
and
not
we
a
need
lot
to
of issues.
sustain.
Because of what? Just say it. You can say it. People listening, they already know what you don't want to say. Because of debt.
Yeah.
30 billion plus.
Yes.
Okay.
So the hospital is saying we need to continue business. Otherwise, we will shut down.
Now,
and the Mwananchi is telling themselves, I have paid this thing. Why am I going into a hospital? Why am I going into a hospital and I am not being treated?
You've made that point.
So the point I'm trying to put across is this.
Made that point.
When you come here and tell us the economy is doing well because the price of fuel is lower, the economy is doing well because unga reduced by 50 bob, please also tell us why people are suffering because they have to pay 17,000 shillings extra on school fees.
It's because you're not getting it right. All right?
Who's not getting it right?
Ruth.
Me, I'm getting it very right.
If NHIF was okay, if NHIF, and I answer, wait a minute.
Failure
wait a minute.
of Shah is
wait,
wait. On NHIF?
If NHIF was okay, not to forget it was a cesspool for major corruption. Why do we owe hospitals all these billions? It was okay. Yet it was treating 7 million people. Tell me. You have the facts. Tell me. Why? You've just said, many private hospitals, they don't want to go with Chief or Taifa Care because it's not working. Primarily, most of them are asking, pay us our debt.
That has accrued over the years.
Listen, that debt was not incurred by this administration. If NHIF was okay, Ruth, why did it have so much debt?
And you see, let me tell you something.
And by the way, let me shock you. You had so many hospitals who used to ask for so much money in NHIF, yet they were not conducting not even a single operation. Matter of fact, when the investigations were being done, it was found, Ruth. Let me teach you so that you can explain to people out there. You had hospitals that were charging an arm and a leg only for investigations to be done. And these hospitals that were saying, we've done these operations, get what Mark must say, they do not even have a theater.
Okay, so
that
you have...
the hospitals.
So all I'm saying
for me,
is,
as
reforms,
a Kenyan,
Mark,
listen,
Ruth,
yes.
I want you to peg your consciousness, on reforms. It is the hardest thing for any administration. Ours is not just reforms, ours is transformation.
Okay.
And you may remember it took Kenya 20 plus years to get a constitution, using the best of constitutional experts and what have you. What am I telling you? It is a journey, it's a long journey with a lot of people fighting in their interests in there. So when we sit down and say, guys, let us come up with a healthcare model, universal healthcare, which has actually been enshrined even in our constitution. It's part of our vision 2030. So the issue is not whether it was being done. The issue becomes, Ruth, who is doing it? That's where we have the problem, because even if you look in your manifesto, you had universal healthcare. Did you know?
Everybody does
Yes.
in their manifesto.
Yes. So the issue is not implementation. Mark my words, Mark. And I'm like, mark my words, Mark.
All right.
The
issue in our case, it is being implemented. It is being implemented.
The issue is this. For a mother, the issue is this. Listen, for a mother walking into a theater, for a mother going for an emergency procedure in a hospital, the issue is this. All she knows that in 2017, she delivered her firstborn. She never had issues. She was never told that government has not been paying us.
Covers more.
She did
Let me
not
just
have
explain
the
it to you.
Nobody told her.
She covers more than NHIF.
But why is it that if I walk into a hospital, I'm not going to be treated despite being on Chief and Shah?
The issue we've had with several hospitals, not all, the issue we've had with several hospitals has been, not even public hospitals, is when a hospital says we can't deal because we are owed money. So that has been a problem. And the government has said, I started well. The faith was there. They started by paying,
but there's another reason.
5 billion.
There's another reason they've given.
And then when
Can we also talk about
the system?
Because you're really dwelling on this issue, which granted the debt is a big part of it.
Yes.
But there's another reason.
No. I just want to say by Ruth, because you are talking about a system as you're talking about the efficacy of NHIF when you knew very well it covered very few.
All right. Let's focus
and it's
on...
not the jokes that you're playing with.
No,
it's no joke. It's no joke. It's actually...
I'm a whole lawyer and I get confused. Is it Taifa Care? Is it...
So, hold on.
You're a communication expert.
Hold on.
It's Shah.
No.
You know when you want to kill a dog, you give it a bad name. That's what you're playing with.
And
if you want to kill a conversation...
With the way you know things. You see how she's Gabriel. So, in other words, what I'm trying to tell you.
Let me draw you back to what the actual statement from the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association of Kenya on this. And this, they say, declaring indefinite suspension of social health authority services due to unpaid arrears, which you have mentioned. But there's also something that you haven't really talked about. And that's the other second strong point. Unworkable outpatient reimbursement model under the Social Health Authority.
And I can tell you, this is what they are dealing with currently.
Yes, and so they've pointed out the issue of what it is that the debt that we're dealing with that's inherited from NHIF and all that. But then they go the Shah transition scorecard, a system in crisis.
Right.
So that's something that you need to face and agree to that it's not working.
No,
so
it's
let's
not that it's
just
not
go
working.
back
It's
to
being worked on.
it's
being
unworkable.
fixed.
It's not
being fixed.
working.
No.
So if you want to
Guys.
go by this point, SHA
Guys.
portal failures, 89% of hospitals reported that the SHA
Listen.
claims portal remains non-functional. Delayed payments, 54% of hospitals have not received any payments from SHA.
SHA,
Patient
not
verification
NHIF, SHA.
failures, 83% of hospitals.
As expected, this is a new hospital, and I can guarantee you, Mark.
A new
Not hospital. This is a new system. This is a new. We are talking about technical
Yeah, so
issues.
it's not workable.
Yeah, it's not
Let's
that
be
it's not workable. No,
It's not working.
Don't go there.
So it's not
Listen,
working.
guys. We are dealing with two things, and I hope you understand me this evening. Yeah, we are dealing with technical problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you're
From the system.
admitting.
We are dealing with nobody.
Is that
has
the
ever-
official government
No,
position?
nobody has ever advocated that. It is a new thing, which will present these issues that must be dealt with.
But you
As
people never
long as-
accepted. When people point, the problem is this: people actually
No.
pointed out this thing.
From my
and
president,
you denied it.
from
You
my
said
president
it
to
is
my
working,
cabinet secretary,
it is-
to my peers, they
Yeah.
have been saying, we have a system here which is working, but with challenges. And as
Is it working?
we are fixing these challenges as we go along. Listen, we have a system whose initial drawing and everything, the graphics, everything you look into that system is not flawed. It may
Why is
have,
it not
listen,
working?
Listen, it
Yeah.
may have imperfections here and there. Just like when, do you use your M-Pesa? How many times do you go using your M-Pesa and you find it's down?
Once in a while. Once in a blue
while.
moon.
Once in a while. When it started, it had same issues. You see? Do not fight something
Did it though?
because
Did it
yes,
though?
because at this particular time you want to make it a political conversation.
No, Buluma.
we have a system.
I'm even.
Yeah.
We have
Other
listen.
friend.
We have a system that I know for sure is going to change the way our healthcare is administered for good, for better. We only need to support it at these initial stages. Guys, NHIF has existed since independence. SHA has been with us for only 4 months.
Oh, so you're calling
Guys,
this teething
here's
problems?
my
No, these teething problems will be there.
Gabriel,
teething
my
problem.
We give it time.
my
If we
problem
were
with this-
discussing 2 years from now,
No, my problem with
3 years from now,
my-
saying, you know,
my problem with this administration,
it does not-
Buluma,
yes.
has been that is always your narrative.
what narrative?
First of all, this administration does not put a lot of thought into whatever proposals and policy proposals they come up with.
What do you
I'm
mean?
being honest with you. It's not the first issue we've had. This is not the first concern we've had with this administration. The education funding model, when the model came out, I mean,
I want
if
to
the
tell you-
model was well thought out,
Ruth,
you'd have very
Ruth,
little resistance.
as it happens
why
in
is
government,
it that? No,
as it-
why is it?
as it happens-
you've
as it
talked a
happens-
lot. Let me just
No,
respond.
you're-
You have talked. You've exhausted your initial minutes to speak about this.
I've exhausted
My
my
problem is
initial
this.
minutes,
Yeah. My problem with this administration is this. Why is it that we've had administrations in the past that never really used to face this much resistance? And they were not equally as. I mean, we wouldn't say they were also very popular.
Where were you?
We wouldn't
Kibaki
say.
faced heavy resistance when he introduced education. Matter of free education. A matter of fact, people said nobody wants free education. You can never have free education.
I get it. I get
We all
it.
have faced resistance.
We all face resistance. But the thing is this. There's the resistance that people give because it's a new idea and we don't think it will work. And then once it starts working, immediately it starts working, people see that it's actually working. Because I will tell you for sure, I studied during the Kibaki. I was a beneficiary of the free secondary education.
Correct.
And this would now put the question of age to the table, settle it. I was a beneficiary of Kibaki's free secondary education. The moment the man said, we are initiating or we are launching free secondary school education program, immediately he had not even settled into office. People were still fighting post-election violence. I entered from one and I benefited from the free or whatever concept, how it was, however it was modeled. Listen,
before.
however it was modeled, I experienced it within the first month. Why is this administration's response to everything, give us time? Why don't you first take time to analyze, to do your research, to find out the best practices before putting out policies. Because it is the same thing you guys said in the first 100 days of being in office, when we all know that every proper, serious government needs to accept to be audited within the first 100 days. The moment we audited your team in the first...
Ruth, you're talking like a typical politician.
I am not talking like a politician.
Right now, you see, this is what I didn't want you to do.
My problem with Kenyans, no, please let me just do what I need to do, then you'll tell me what you didn't want me to do. Because Kenyans' concerns are that when you guys got into office, when we started auditing you after the first 100 days, you told us you cannot possibly audit a government within 100 days. Give us 6 months. We gave you 6 months. When 6 months ended, give us 1 year. We gave you 1 year. When 1 year ended, we've just settled. Give us another 1 year. After the 1 year ends, you know what people are now saying? You should audit a government after 5 years. I mean, so everything should go wrong that can go wrong.
Man,
then after 5 years...
This is not the Ruth I knew. Ruth has become a serious...
I have evolved.
Propagandist.
Let
me tell you.
This is what Kenyans are saying. What they are saying is this.
In fact,
what they are saying. No, let me just. No,
it's what Ruth is saying.
It is what Kenyans are saying. What Kenyans are saying is this: that today you will tell us it is only 4 months. Give us time. But what measures? The thing is, my problem with you people is you never even listen to the people. Even with the finance bill, that is what happened. People said this thing is bad. Mulisema, this thing is good. Give it time. You will see the benefits. What were the benefits? People kept telling you it is bad. It is bad, and they even gave suggestions of what should be done. This is a government, in my opinion. Now let me not say what Kenyans are saying. This is a government, in my opinion, that doesn't respect people. That doesn't even respect the will of the people. Let me put it correctly.
No, that's propaganda. Run away from propaganda.
Doesn't respect the will of the people in what sense? You even hold public... Can I finish?
No.
You even hold public participation forums where Kenyans massively tell you, we don't want this. Then you go ahead and tell us, you will like it, you will want it, you will love it, whether you like it or you don't. And we keep telling you, we don't want it. You keep pushing us to the corner. Then what happens? People start protesting. Before you know it, let me tell you, if you people don't take this health care thing seriously, Kenyans will now start going to the streets. Forget about the finance bill. Finance bill, maybe the repercussions were that money would be taken out of our pockets. We would probably be resilient and work enough to get more money. Let me tell you, with the healthcare thing, Kenyans will realize they have... Listen, with the healthcare system, Kenyans will realize that what is at stake is life.
You remind me.
What is at stake?
You remind me.
Muduma, let me just finish.
You've been talking for 10 minutes.
I wish you could listen, because this is the feedback.
Hear out and let her finish.
With the healthcare thing, and if you don't listen to me, we will come back here and I will tell you, I told you so. With the healthcare thing, with the finance bill, the problem was more money is coming out of my pocket, which I don't have. With healthcare, the concern is tomorrow I will walk into an office into a hospital in a critical condition, and I will die because I will tell you we're not accepting SHA, and that's the only form of medical insurance that I have. So when they realize they are now dying, because let me tell you, death is worse than money coming out of my pocket. Just imagine the mother of protests that Kenya will experience. You better listen to us or you're going to lose this thing.
Let me ask about something that you brought up earlier, and that's the reason I've been a bit quiet, but also there's freedom of expression. Wacha onge, we fungua roho, sema ikutoke, sema ikutoke. But there was something that you did say earlier about 2 years ago, compared to this period, that the economy
when we were coming, when we were coming in with bottom-up economic transformation agenda.
So, first of all, I think, and you were saying you are selling her, you're taking her somewhere. Muduma, it does honestly feel like you are taking her to utopia.
No.
Because honestly speaking, unless it's because you're speaking as someone who's now the deputy
it's not utopia.
Spokesperson.
It's not utopia.
It's something that you imagine.
It's not utopia.
Do you honestly say that life is better for Kenyans today than it was 2 years ago?
It's not utopia, and I'll tell you why.
Are you saying that?
No. It's not utopia.
So it's not?
No, understand, first of all, you must, and I can't put it well than Bob Marley said. What did he say? You have to know where you're coming. If you want to know where you're going, you must know where you're coming from. Ruth, where are we coming from? Mark, where are we coming?
Life was better, my friend, 3 years ago.
You see, life was better. She didn't know the kind of debt we were in.
I didn't need to know.
Yes. No.
Listen, Muduma,
Ruth, Apana, no.
So
this one, I'll disagree with you.
Listen, I didn't need to know the kind of debt. I didn't need to know the kind of debt.
So you're talking about the debt.
All I mentioned was.
3 years ago, what I know is that in a month I could comfortably pay my rent.
Yes.
I could even contribute to my sister's school fees, send my mom some money. If there is an emergency,
Mark,
I
there's
could
no
respond to
conversation
it.
here. Okay.
Now, 3 years down the line,
There's no conversation.
you
I
brought
am barely
Me,
paying
I
my
am
rent.
talking.
So you're
you
talking
see,
about debt?
And Ruth.
So are you calling? Are you calling?
No. You're doing you.
Please don't gaslight me.
No. You're doing yourself a disservice. I'm talking about
isn't
the
this a
country
story-
you're talking about, Ruth.
But isn't she a representative?
What
I am
I'm
a
telling you-
Kenyan.
no, you first
I am
of all
and
need-
there are very many Kenyans
you
in my
first of all
position.
need-
Right
Okay.
now, you talk
See,
to serious businessmen who would make a lot of money.
Let me
They're
ask.
telling
Let me
you.
ask though. When you talk about the big figure here of
In fact,
debt,
now I was
We
not
were-
talking about
we
myself.
were-
I
when you're
talk
talking about
we were
finance-
this country,
Yes.
we were in serious debt.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example. Think of how you have on your M-Pesa. Yeah?
Yeah.
Your Fuliza. Is it called Fuliza? You have 20 shillings, 20,000 shillings. You have borrowed 19,000 shillings. You have a window of 1,000. When the William Ruto administration was coming in, we did not have a ceiling
Okay.
to borrow. Wait a minute.
Okay.
The first thing that came to mind was, how do we start moving with
Can I
all
put it
this
to
debt?
you though?
We realize, wait a
You're
minute.
talking about we as if the now president wasn't in that government.
I know
as well.
governments. I know government.
He was in
but
that
no,
government
no, no, no,
as well.
There's a major difference between a president and a deputy. Major difference.
Oh,
Trust me.
so he wasn't part of that government.
There's major difference.
He was
Trust me.
not part of that
That's one
government.
thing I've come to realize.
Now you've realized
Have you not
after.
There's major difference.
So
There's
are you telling me
have
that
you ever
wasn't
heard
the
of the
government that
Have you
he
ever
was
heard
part
of the
of?
back? No, he was part of it, but
Of
have you ever
course.
heard of the thing? They
So
say
the buck stops at
But
them.
anyway,
So it's a sellable narrative when it's favoring
it's not
your-
about
your-
it's not about a sellable narrative.
Yeah,
The
because
thing
when-
is,
during
where we were-
abductions
where we were-
conversations, it was
where
not
we were-
stopping with the leader.
No, we are not talking-
Now with the
you see
economics,
now-
the buck stops with the
you know where
leader.
we've gone.
Hold on.
So wait a minute.
It's just a
with,
fact.
With the economy, the issue of debt.
It was
And it's what
a
it's
debt
what
ceiling.
we
Yes.
knew any leader coming in knew that was going to be a challenge.
Okay.
We thank God today, we did not default. We were able to raise money for Eurobond. Yeah? We did not go where other countries went. Our dollar at that particular time was heading towards 200. Somebody had actually forecasted that if we were unable to take care of that situation, the dollar exchange rate would have gone to nearly 300.
Okay.
We were able to arrest that situation.
All right.
At the same time,
How does that
at the same time,
translate now for
At
the
the same
Monanchi?
time, at the same time, we had people in the streets wearing sufurias, talking about Unga revolution.
The price, yes.
Something had to be done.
So, that was good.
Subsidies had to be moved from enriching people's relatives and friends. And now subsidized production. The farmer won. Instead of giving money to guys who sit in offices and all they do is bring stuff from outside, we went to the farmer. Kenyans won. That's why I was telling you, Kenyans won.
Kenyans won.
Kenyans won on that. In terms of fuel, yeah, middlemen, they were so angry against this government. They were spreading rumors throughout, buying newspaper front pages and what have you.
What period
The
is this
government went.
you're referring to?
Hey, you'll have it there. The government went G to G. They removed the middlemen. Kenyans won.
Who are these Kenyans?
Kenyans won.
Who are
Yeah.
they?
What period? You're talking about the
fuel
difference?
now. Yes, the fuel.
Right now?
Mafuta ikaendelea kwenda chini. Kept going. And you can't forget days when every week IPRA was posting prices going
Every
up.
month. It's not every week.
So the thing I'm trying to tell you is I want you to see where we have come from and where we are heading. Every pointer from the inflation of our country, it has gone lowest since independence. You're telling about Pesa Mfukoni.
What has gone lowest? What has gone lowest?
Inflation. We come from a place now where you're talking about Mfukoni. Ruth, I told you, today it's a good debate to have with you because you are talking about economy and Mfukoni. 76,000 teachers have been employed, the highest number since independence. Where do you think all this money is coming from? It's called transformation. It's not an easy thing. That's why I was giving you an example of our constitution. It took nearly 20 plus years to bring in. So when we've just come in 2 years and we've initiated a universal health care, which has been part of our national conversation since independence, At the very least, somebody is doing it. It may be imperfect at this juncture, but tell you what, Ruth, it's in a state of usefulness. Let me tell you, the highest level of physics and science is, you'll find it in hospitals and research, and when it comes to building planes. There's a reason I'm giving you this example. But even that, they build the best airlines, they still fall from the sky. Does not mean every precaution that needed to be taken has not been taken.
That's true.
There can be oversight. And that is why you go back to the drawing boards and say, hey, look, we developed an amazing machine called Boeing Max, 73 Max, 737 Max.
Okay.
But guess what? It has a problem. What do we need to fix? You don't take an entire aircraft, which has taken years of R&D, and say, toa hii hapa, leta ile ingine mzee. No, you build on the imperfections of an existing structure. And that's what I'm saying. It may be imperfect at this particular time. But let me tell you something, Ruth. The concept of universal healthcare is not flawed.
Tutoke hewani kidogo. Let me just go. Let me go to your analogy.
So give it time.
Let me go to your analogy, Bwana Gabriel Muduma, because turudi ground. Wacha tu nimrudishe kwe. Turudi ground kutoka hewani. Sababu, I believe what's happening with this particular issue, what we're witnessing. Let's come back home. That's actually also with the ecosystem of the FAA, and we know what that has happened under the new regime of Trump. And so that has influence, and there's politics beyond that. So bringing that as an analogy and saying that we're replacing the Boeing machine, that's not fitting. But my position, and I believe Kenyans will, and that's why she's speaking of herself as a Kenyan, the pinch that we feel in our pockets and in our spend is more than 2
and
years
I think
ago.
I was,
So there's that point that you're speaking to. There's that point that you're
And you know,
speaking to.
see, Mark, the other mistake that we are doing is to think that we are not part of this Kenyan
But
ecosystem.
if you speak of it as it's better than 2 years
listen,
ago,
no.
then which world are you living in?
It is because I know where we are heading.
Utopia. That's not where we
it's not
are.
utopia, Mark. Show me one thing. Show me one thing that was built easily. Anything that can be done easily, is not worth the salt.
What I need
you need serious people who sat down to draft and say, wait a minute, this old model of university was not working. We need one that's transformative and it's working. We need this issue of universal healthcare. We need to transform the way we do things. And NHIF is no work.
All right.
I think maybe...
Hold on.
Just let me respond. I've been so patient.
Yes, I'm giving it to you.
Yes.
I'm giving it to you next.
Yes.
My point here is to, as you've just said, we speak of it as if you, government spokesman, deputy government spokesman, or other people in the government are not feeling the pinch. So it's just to go back to the point where you say, we are better off than we were 2 years ago.
That's what you say.
Is that the truth?
We are better off today.
But are we?
So yourself as a Kenyan,
really are we?
No. If you are, you are not feeling the pinch of the economic times.
No. Where
we are. I'm not talking about where you're talking about going.
The economy today. Ask anybody who has seen the change, and they'll tell you, by the way, we are better off. But listen, we are saying, we can say, wait, you'll execute your point. You'll say, they'll say, listen, we are better off. And I want you to listen to me very carefully. We are better off than we were. But even if we are not, I can see where we are heading.
So you just said something.
Yes.
Even if we are not.
This is the right way. This is the right way we are heading.
So, do you hear me out on utopia? Because you're talking about let me just read the description here so that he doesn't feel like I am.
Can you define utopia? Do you know what utopia means?
Yes,
you are expecting
right here.
to understand
an imagined place or state of things in which everything is perfect.
Yeah, that's what.
No.
Yes.
Please.
No. Where I want you to walk with me is the fun that people are saying when the president said, "Hii barabara ya Wajir tunajenga." And people made fun of it. Wait a minute. You see, this is a problem.
No, that's not even the problem.
Where you can't see the vision. Somebody who has lived in that corridor will say, wait a minute, what did the president say? He talked about this road going all the way down here.
He talked about
listen.
Go down.
Listen, it is already. It's already. You saw that it's already happening.
There's vision and then there's mirage. Let's continue.
Not mirage.
Please.
No. Give me this road. Just 1 minute. 1 minute. I explain to you. That road. is a game changer. Just one lateral.
Okay.
Because,
Okay.
because the
was.
kind of
There's
economy
that
we will bring. Did you remember?
If it actually
do you
was.
remember back in the day, after passing Gedhurai, it used to be darkness all the way to Thika.
So,
Okay.
Look at it
You've made
today
the
because
point.
of one artery
You've made the
called
point.
the Thika superhighway.
You made the
Mark,
point there.
Mark,
yes.
please.
Sasa,
Please.
mimi point yangu ni
Yes.
utopia. Sababu
And
mimi
let
kwa
me
hapa
help
Kenya-
you.
Yes,
Let me help
yes.
you define that utopia
Yes.
with proper examples. Gabriel here tells us that things are good. Why are they good? Because apparently some 76,000 teachers have been hired. Things are good. Why are they good? Because apparently they have this big plan with healthcare that maybe could be facing challenges, but it is very big. It will be okay. So for him, he's thinking about the plan. And in fact, I think that's where they messed it. The plan, the naming of their vision being the plan, which means that it will always be a plan. It will always be futuristic. It will never look at today, which is that the reality of today, which is that Muduma, I will walk into a hospital tomorrow and I will find
My
a notice
goodness.
there. Let's please, and I wish, Aki, I wish I wish you,
Go ahead.
you would maintain a very somber face like I did
I
when you
am.
were talking.
No, because you're
a
making
Kenyan
fun
right
now.
now.
Let us speak.
No, I'm being very. By the way, I contained myself a lot when you were talking because I was feeling a bit emotional. These days, I can contain I've grown emotionally. There were times when I would walk out of TV sets. Those are no longer these days. These days,
see how grown-
I've grown. I have to admit that.
All right.
And why I'm saying I have grown is sometimes you can walk out and there's somebody who really wants you to express what they are feeling. And what Kenyans are feeling right now is, you will tell us there's this big health plan that maybe we should give you grace because it's a plan that could be imperfect. Those were your words.
Yes.
It could be imperfect, it could not be working out. But how will you explain to a pregnant mother today who will walk into a healthcare facility that has been listed under her SHA or a shift that she applied for, we are now being serious, and she walks there tomorrow with an emergency and she's told, by the way, sorry, we are not accepting it.
There's so many.
No, just
Mwani,
listen. Let me,
Kenyatta, there's
please,
so many.
Can I just,
Okay.
can I land this conversation? Because you are telling me there are many hospitals, there's Kenyatta. Me, I'm talking about a woman who is deep in the village of Lusengeli, where I come from, in Vihiga, who will walk into
there.
Kaimosi Hospital and she'll find a notice there saying, we are not accepting SHA. She does not have relatives who can quickly marshal together some 20K for her to undergo a cesarean section. And as a
Which
result,
hospital is that, Kaimosi?
Kaimosi. My grandma died because healthcare services were not available at the time. And these are real conversations on the ground. You will not tell that, tomorrow you will not tell that accident emergency victim or their family after losing him that, you know what, please just forgive us. 3 months from now it will work. Where will it work when I, who is a productive member of my family, my life is gone, I don't have a job, my family is no longer being supported? You will not tell me you have this very big, transformative, and you know, maybe I feel this conversation that you keep saying that Raila will not join people who are being reactionary, maybe you guys were being reactionary. Because why would you come and tell us you have this very transformative education funding model, very transformative, and yet the people who are going through the education system right now are like, oh my God, I wish I studied when Uhuru was president. Because back then, nobody was putting me in a band where I'm being told, you know, because I'm very poor, I will receive this amount of money. And then something happens along the way. The truth of the matter is...
No, the band has existed since...
I'm telling you, it has existed
since 80s.
But why change, sorry to say, why change something that university students never complained about? What is this? What is transformation coming and doing what your person that you are fighting against did? Is that the idea of transformation? Transformation is coming and looking at what has worked and appreciating and saying the whole essence of continuity of government is to sit and say, we have come into this government. Okay, forget about the politics of the 2 months ago that we were fighting and have eventually taken over office. Do an audit and ask yourself, okay, what was working? Truly, for sure, Muduma, Iyo Linda Mama was working. For sure, NHIF might have had its own administrative issues. We didn't need to change the model because explain to me why I'm contributing maybe the same amount of money I was contributing or even more, because in SHA it's actually for some services it's more. Why am I contributing more and not getting the service that I was getting back then?
What service is more?
Listen, back then,
what service,
when I was contributing less.
You said it.
That
what
is the
service is
healthcare.
more? No, tell me.
Listen,
one.
That
Pick
is
one.
The healthcare. Ngoja, that is the healthcare system. I'm still going into bigger issues. Bigger issues like you telling me why we should be very happy that the price of unga has come down, but not consider that because I'm paying more school fees in a university, now I can't even afford that unga.
What service in more under Shah that was less?
You are saying
that was less
you know,
in
and
NHIF.
you know, you are cherry picking. You are cherry picking.
I'm not cherry picking anything.
I want
you
to address. Let me address all the issues.
Take a topic.
Because
you said there's a service.
You spoke for like 10 minutes.
There's a service.
Let her finish
you spoke for 10 minutes. I listened. You listened to me. Then you will cherry pick.
There's
because
no service.
I will address everything you addressed.
There's no service.
I will address everything you addressed.
But that's correcting you.
Which is I will address everything you addressed.
Okay.
Which is that you're telling us, you know, finally we found a way of paying off a loan that was taken during the previous administration. Now let us now come back to we as the current administration. How much have we borrowed against the plan, which was we are not even going to borrow, right? Let us come back to the conversation where the plan was telling us we are going to revolutionize the manufacturing industry. As a result of that, young people are going to get jobs. Even we were even talking about a very serious big digital highway. Then you have a cabinet secretary being appointed, and his first statement is, this internet, we are going to deal with you guys. Then a president comes into power who tells us during the plan that he's going to create local jobs, and his biggest job creation platform is
54,000 kilometers of digital super have already been laid down.
Job creation platform is export as many of those young people to some of the most ridiculous Arabian countries where every single day Kenyans are complaining and saying, my daughter died. So every single day, Kenyans are complaining and saying, my daughter was working as a maid somewhere in an Arabian country. She's being mistreated. Every single other day, people are contributing to transport a body that we don't know how this body died. And
Ruth, do you believe? Are you believing things you're saying?
Is she believing what you're saying? It's not believing, it is facts. Rarely are we having the Minister for Labor or the Cabinet Secretary for Labor sitting down and telling us, now you know what, we have revolutionized this particular industry. As a result, 10,000 young people are now working in this place. Every day what we hear is, we have received 5,000 jobs from Dubai. Come and apply. When are we going to make Kenya a safe haven for Kenyans to say, you know what, I'm comfortable here? By the time a Kenyan, I will be very honest with you, personally, I would have left this country very many years ago. Why am I not leaving? Because I love this country. And if the cost of my love for this country, if it put me in a position where I'd rather stay here, earn a very little salary, but be comfortable in the confines of me being with my family. Yeah. So Muduma, just be empathetic a bit to some of these issues we are talking about. We don't deny that the price of fuel is probably lower. But then now we come back to the conversation of, can I even afford to buy a car? You know, it is lower. But how many cars are going to fuel at the petrol station? You know, fine, you'll tell me the price of unga is low. But at the end of the day, when I'm doing shopping, and you know, you'll tell me, Ruth, this is Ruth speaking. Yes, I am Ruth speaking. My Kenyan ID says I am Kenyan. So you cannot invalidate my situation, which is that 5 years ago, I could contribute, I could manage my bills, I could even support my family, and I was having less stress. Here you are telling me how there are 76,000 Kenyans who are being employed as teachers, but you're also not telling me the daily cases of Kenyans, those young Kenyans, those 76,000 Kenyans who are teachers who have been employed, who are killing themselves. Here you will tell me even how, 1 million doctors have been employed. But you will also not tell me how many of them are killing themselves every day, and they write letters and they say, I am killing myself because A, B, C, D. And top of that list is, I can't afford to live in this life. Let me get out of this life. It's too expensive for me. Life is stressful. I'm going to give you examples of real Kenyans that I have sat with not 2 months ago, this week. Number one, some gentleman who I will publicly say probably wanted to take me to some date. He disappears. I call him, I'm like, hey, we were to go for coffee. What is happening? The guy tells me, I've been off since Tuesday when we last spoke. Why? I was hospitalized. What happened to me? I collapsed in my office. Why? I am supposed to let go of 20 people that have worked for me for over 10 years plus. I don't even know how to make that decision. Now, this is a Kenyan who is so concerned about the livelihoods of these 20 Kenyans whose lives and families have thrived because they work for him. If he lets them go, which he has to, for his own also sanity, if he lets them go, these are Kenyans who you will start hearing phone calls. Oh, by the way, this employee that you let go, alipatikana kwa msitu somewhere amejinyonga. So Kenyans are going through a lot. I met a Kenyan, a friend of mine, who's been friends of, I mean, this is a friend who you'd say, oh, let's have coffee. Next thing you know, you are eating a platter, 5,000 shillings. At the end of the day, at that dinner, you've spent like almost 15K. I'm meeting with this person. He's telling me, Ruth, I have billionaire friends. Friends that I would say, hey, I'm in a fix. M-Pesa, 100,000. Those friends of, hey, I'm in a fix, or with 100,000 of M-Pesa, he now calls them. The most they can give him is 2,000 shillings. And it's not just at all of them. Billionaire friends of his are saying they have no money. I don't know which Kenyans are these you are sitting with who are telling you things are okay. I don't know. Because I have sat with young Kenyans who start businesses collapse. Why? They are being overtaxed. They are going through a lot of issues. They cannot even afford that. A lot is happening. I am not here to fight the government. I'm here to tell you what Kenyans are feeling. And if that is not valid enough, if for you all that matters is to present a government in a good picture, personally, I say sometimes these conversations are not for us to defend our sides. Because honestly, if I was here to defend a side, I would probably tell you what my party is planning, what DAP is planning, the big plans we have of stealing many people from ODM and fielding candidates and getting many votes in Western, which we will do. But I'm focusing on telling you, I have neighbors who don't have jobs. I have young people who every day have to get on phone calls with at 2 a.m. because they're telling me, Ruth, I want to kill myself. Why?
Okay.
Life is difficult.
So basically what has played out in this episode, and I appreciate that it has, is what next for Kenya, or what is very immediate for Kenya right now. The reality now that, as we started the conversation, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga having come back from his campaign, the lost bid for AUC chairmanship, and holding a joint presser with the president, and both speaking about now we forge forward.
Correct.
And these realities that we are drawing here, heated as they may be, are realities that are faced by many Kenyans, and actually all of us, right? Whether in government or not. I'm still in shock that you feel things are better than 2 years ago, Muduma. But let me read a quote from the president's conversation today to kind of draw it back and then conclude. And this is what he said. The necessary political capital that is required to move transformative programs in our country now exists, and in courtesy of the broad-based government. And we will continue to focus our efforts to take Kenya to the next level. Do you feel, in your honest opinion as a governance expert, political analyst, this political capital that we speak about will hold? And exists, first of all, and will hold for the remainder of this term?
Definitely, definitely, without fear of contradiction, definitely. You see, Mark, I told you...
So is that the political capital that he was seeking to buy through AUC support?
The president has made it very clear, and it's not just now. He started on a journey.
Yes.
And his journey he has never vacated that promise. It was to transform. The bottom-up economic transformation agenda, he defines it. And he will get any person who he feels will assist him get to probably what you're calling utopia. It's not utopia. It's actually tangible. Tangible things that are going to create change. And let me tell you, when you have put in a lot of push and a lot of weight and a lot of thought into what the president has done, the next stage we are arriving, Mark, again, mark my words, mark my words, is transformation.
I will say that as well.
It's transformation.
Okay.
And there's nothing that's in the purview of my president. And many people know him. They know him very well.
We don't know him.
As a politician, when he was in the Ministry of Higher Education, when he was Minister of Agriculture, it is detailed, the work he was able to do. So when he is known to be somebody, when he sets his sights on something, he will do what he can to achieve it. And even the bottom-up economy, I'm shocked. I'm shocked when somebody is talking about the digital superhighway, and you do not know that we've already covered 54,000 kilometers of fiber.
She was talking about the first priority of the ICT minister
when we are talking about 77,000, it's not a small number.
True.
When you're talking about kites in our counties, it is not. When we're talking about EPZs, these are things that are changing. When we talk about labor migration, it is something that has happened over the years. The only problem was, Mark, it was agents, rogue agents that were sending our children out. Now government has gotten in and they say, wait a minute, before you take this person out, we want to know where they are going. That is why you're reporting less deaths. And that's why sometimes it's a little bit off. You know, it's more like ranting when you say people are dying. The government now knows where everybody is. That's what we wanted. We were talking about when somebody has gone into Dubai, the government knows where that person is.
Where are the abductees? Let me just ask you.
No, it's not about, I'm not talking about abductees. I'm talking about the people. I'm talking about the person. I'm talking about, it's not the police that's sending people to doing labor migration. You want to know that if there's somebody who are saying,
just going with your point, the government knows where everybody is.
If you're saying somebody is missing, you IG bring him here, ask him those questions.
All right, so finish your point.
The thousands of teachers who are taken to the US, the government knows where they are. The thousands of people who are going to Germany. Yeah. In fact, we have changed. We are not calling it labor migration. It's brain gain. I left, a good example. I left this country as a young boy from the slums of Madare Valley. I got scholarships. I studied abroad.
But where are
in
you
the
now?
US and in the UK.
Where are you now?
From Madare.
Where
right?
are you now?
Kept with the faith. I came back home with the experience that I had. Well, at the same time, I had friends of mine who left for other destinations. They are back here, contributing to building this fabric called Kenya.
Yeah.
So it does not necessarily mean when our young men and women are going to places like Qatar, people are saying, oh, we need to create. They have gone there, but the knowledge that they'll bring.
It's not knowledge. They're going there to work. There's no work here.
You
went there to get knowledge to come back and build Kenya. They are going there because they have the knowledge. There's no work here.
Ruth, I have gone to other places to work for years.
All right.
I came back home.
Okay.
And the knowledge that I brought, I still use it to my advantage and to build my country.
This is your long response to the to the question about political capital, and you say the president has been on a journey. What of this journey that you speak, and you've gone back to the days he was a minister, to what's now the fear of the judiciary, a very important part of his government, because we're looking at what next for Kenya. And CJ Kome fears the Supreme Court could be suspended this week. 5 Supreme Court judges have launched a last-minute fight for survival against the Judicial Service Commission over a proposal to remove them from office, with Chief Justice Martha Koome expressing fears that their files may be sent to President Ruto this week. In fact, they're saying tomorrow. What does that speak in terms of messaging for you from the government?
Good. First of all, about and probably very quickly, chapters, I think it's 166 and 168. They talk about this, about the judiciary, how it comes into fruition. And here I'm talking about senior judges and judges like the president of the Supreme Court, who is the Chief Justice, and then the DCJ. There are ways, because these are apolitical offices. Yeah, we talk about judiciary being an independent arm, but as much as we say what is happening there, JSC, they are the ones who lead in this. That's why I was taken aback a little bit, and I'll still give you a definitive answer, which I feel, needs to happen. First of all, Mark, we need, and when I say we, I'm talking about the political class. It is very wrong for somebody who was a very senior person in government to go and politicize the issues of a very serious entity called the judiciary in a political rally. I have never supported it. I'll never support it. You cannot go and say the president wants to fire. In fact, the president wants to fire the Chief Justice. Those are actually emotions that are overruled his common sense, because he knows very well that the president cannot initiate anything The people who does is what you just said, is the Judicial Service Commission.
Okay.
And when they do so, investigations are carried.
For layman, could there be anyone then working on behalf to do that?
No. The Judicial Service Commission is very clear on that. And by the way, the Constitution is also very clear in chapters 168 and 166, very clear on how that process goes. So once the Judicial Service, once they do the investigations, they forward the names, yes, to the president. The president, the only thing that he will do is set up a commission. And if it's a senior judge, when you're talking about the CJ and the DCJ, the Speaker of the House is involved, and other people are brought in. So it's not an easy process, and we don't need to make it political.
The Speaker with Angula, who's
and
now
other bodies, which also comprises of other judges.
Okay.
So it is not an easy thing to be politicized. It is wrong and should be castigated by any peace-loving Kenyan.
Okay. All right. Let me give it to her on the political capital, what the president has said, and he feels this is what they need to move it, transformational Kenya to the next level.
There is no political capital that can override intentions, that can override qualifications, that can override systemic issues. You might have the perfect combination. In fact, I must remind Kenyans that when the president began consulting to constitute the broad-based government, he actually wanted everybody on board. Don't forget, he approached everybody. My party leader was approached.
Eugene.
Kalonzo Musyoka was approached. My party leader, Eugene Wamalwa, said no. We called for a press conference. And some of these things are conversations that they may never come out publicly as party leaders and tell you, we were approached. But people like us who have the privilege to sit at the close, footsteps of our party leaders, we know they were called. We know they were offered positions. But they sat with themselves and asked themselves, is this the political capital we want to ride on?
Okay.
The intentions of this political capital that is being built, are they right? The composition of this political capital that we are talking about, is it composed of people who are qualified to hold positions and bring about the transformation? So I think the problem with this administration will not be solved by political capital. The president can bring everybody on board, including my party leader. And by the way, if my party leader goes and joins an administration that has no proper intentions for the goodwill of the people, that has no proper composition of qualified people to run a country, I will check out. I have checked out before, out of Raila's administration or regime. Why? Because I noticed this guy, I gave him a couple of months, I could see he was about to join a coalition that I did not agree with. I don't agree with that coalition, not because I don't like William Ruto, the president, as a person. I just don't agree with his way of doing things. I don't agree with the type of people he has chosen to hold very critical entities or positions that are meant to bring about the transformation. So the thing is, you can have a Mercedes-Benz, but for as long as the drivers of those Mercedes-Benzes are not trained they don't know how to drive, they don't know how to handle a Mercedes-Benz, you will have a beautiful Mercedes-Benz that will continuously get itself into accidents. So this is my opinion. Even if the president manages to bring everybody, including get back Rigathi Gachagua and even give him a cabinet secretary position, if he does not have the right intentions, which he doesn't, if he does not have qualified people in key positions, which he doesn't, if he is not willing to respect basic human rights, which he does not seem to have any intentions of respecting anytime soon, then he can have everybody in his government, and he will have the people who he is supposed to be serving, the people who he is supposed to be leading, the people whose support he will be looking for in the next 2 years, he will lose it. So he will have everybody with him, every powerful person with him, but nobody that matters with him. So that is my basic conclusion about that.
All right.
So whoever he brings on board, let him bring on board. But for as long as he's not willing to change his way of doing things, his perception about the people, if he cannot inspire his leaders to respect the people, to hold the people in regard, to remember that they are serving and not leading and not ruling the people, then there's very little that will change.
Okay.
Second, into the conversation that Muduma has just, the conclusion that, the conversation that Muduma has just, taken us into. I mean, I say that looking into the future, we are not at loss. We are not inept of people who can take this country to the right direction.
Okay.
We have people who have stood with the people when the people needed people to stand with them. I think Kenyans just need to get to a point where they remove the idea of an opposition being, an opposition leader being one specific individual. As Kenyans, we must get ourselves from the conversation of that if certain people are not running, then we have no option. I find myself very confused when Kenyans say they want somebody totally different from William Ruto. But if Ruth Ambogo today stands and says she wants to vie for president, they will tell her, how much money do you have? They will ask her, what tribes are supporting you? They will ask me, how many lawyers do I have behind my back? So I think Kenyans must also get to a point of being honest with themselves. Do they really want the change?
Yeah.
Are we still going to ask, still going to sit down and push the blanket narrative that we have no opposition? When you have my party leader, when you have my party leader, Eugene Wamalwa, going to the courts seeking a resolution as to the Adani issue, which Kenyans have considered as a thorn in the flesh of the progress of this country.
True.
Are we still going to have conversations such as, there's nobody who can lead us, and yet, when the conversation about the finance bill was coming to the table, when Kenyans wanted members of parliament to stand with them in voting against the finance bill, we had a whole Democratic Action Party whose members, whose leaders voted 100% of them against the finance bill. Then when Eugene Wamalwa says, I want to vie for president, they will still ask him questions such as, how many billions do you have in your account? So Kenyans must also be honest with themselves. Do we really want change?
Okay.
And if we want change, have we been conditioned to think of the only people who can bring about change possessing certain qualities, having a certain style of speaking, having a certain way of addressing people, containing or possessing a certain style of humor? So we must get to a point where humor will not push us to the ballot to vote for you. The amount of money in your account will not convince us that you are the right candidate. The fact that you can manage to finance as many bishops and pastors as possible, knowing that we are so gullible to what we listen to on Sundays in our churches. We must get to that point where we decolonize our minds from who our president looks like.
Okay.
We must get to a point where, as a country, we're not looking at the most, or the person who can speak the best.
Orator.
Because all I would say is, for example, if myself, as I am considering, maybe or maybe not, I'm yet to get that decision, that if I get to the ballot, and let's say I want to now represent the people of Nairobi as a woman representative, I am giving the Nairobi voters the choice to look at me and say, Ruth, we don't care that you speak very well. You speak very well, good for you. Maybe you should be giving us YouTube talks and we will support you there. If they look at me and realize I have no agenda for the people of Nairobi,
Yeah.
if they look at me and realize there is no transformative bone in me, if they look at me and realize I have zero understanding of the problems that face people of Nairobi, I give them the permission to say, Ruth, by the way, we are going to vote for this introvert who doesn't even know how to address the people because he or she has the better plan, he or she has the better understanding of the problems that we face, and whatever iniquities they have, even if they don't fit the perfect description of what a politician should be, we will trust them with leadership.
All right. Finally, everyone's talking about formations. We're hearing people about, Matiang'i might be the next one. That's Jubilee. Those who are talking, we had Eugene Wamalwa with Kalonzo Musyoka and Gachagua meeting most recently. Martha Karua also met with Gachagua.
Oh, and she's launching a party
yes,
on Thursday.
And Martha Karua also, Gachagua saying he's going to make an announcement soon about the vehicle moving forward. So everyone is looking at formations. So you say you're good at predictions moving forward. And I know you speak for the government as deputy government spokesperson. And you've already spoken about him saying that, the president saying that there's enough political capital moving forward. However, no one is talking to the Gen Z formation who say they're leaderless. They are it's a movement. No one is talking about that formation and ignoring them. I'll have you speak to that.
Did you say no one?
No one is speaking about that. We're all talking about this formation with this leader. But we're somewhat leaving out the Gen Z formation, which is very integral moving forward. Because you're talking about
It's not only the Gen Zs.
What next for?
It's not only the Gen Zs.
So
it's the
then,
youth. Let me call them the youth. It's a good name.
You talk about the Gen Z.
Now we are talking about the
youth.
Gen Z. Let's talk about
It's a
the
good.
Gen Z.
Let me talk about the youth.
All right.
And the reason why
Speak
I do
to the
this,
youth.
I don't
I'll
want
speak to the Gen Z.
Yeah, I don't want to.
And give them the assurance that they'll be able to register as voters.
Yeah, of course, of course. The reason why I don't want
your last
put more like a disclaimer on the youth or the Gen Zs is they are the youth. And the youth of a nation, they say, are the trustees of posterity. The youth have a very big role to play, mostly when it comes to our governance. Before, in times past, what has been is that they become used, to front other people's agendas. They have gotten to a time where they will choose their leaders, and the only thing I can beg for them to do is choose wisely. They've done it in the past, contrary to what people think, or contrary to what people believe. And I think this is also a time they are going to be given the same platform to do so. The issue here, per se, when we talk about the youth and where they need to be going, may not even be political, is rising up to the occasion, is rising up to a transformative agenda, is what will make your tomorrow better. That's it.
Okay.
Not to allow yourself to be used as pawns, because this has happened in the past, but knowing what the future holds for you. It is actually indeed a calling to the youth of this country. Thank you.
All right. And you, I believe you're in the new opposition, and there's formations in that side, to the Gen Z formation and that populace. What do you say moving forward? Then what for Kenya?
For me, my message to the Gen Z, to be specific, I will not bundle them in the youth bracket, because I do understand I'm not a Gen Z myself. And the problems that I faced as a millennial are probably not the problems that the Gen Zs are facing. Today's generation of Gen Zs in Kenya are facing very unique problems. Problems that a government like Muduma's government that he serves would wish to bundle them under the youth bracket, the bigger youth bracket, to avoid addressing the issues they directly face, which are that you can promise the young people hope. You can tell them how they are the greatest thing that can ever happen to a nation. But for as long as you don't create an environment conducive enough for them to realize that greatness, it shall remain a conversation that is pushing them into a utopic space. You cannot tell the young people that they have in it the power to become the leaders of today and tomorrow when they rise up to speak about the kind of leadership they want and criticize the leadership they do not want. You visit them with abductions, with killings, with disappearances that can never be explained. So for the young people of this country, all I will say, do not listen to the futuristic conversations of how great you are. Do not pay attention to people massaging your egos and making you feel like you're the best thing that ever happened, when in reality, when the conversation, the road hits the rubber, they cannot explain to you why you cannot afford education today. They cannot explain to you why, as a young doctor, you will probably commit suicide in the next 2 months because you're not being paid your salaries. They cannot explain to you why, as a teacher, yes, you have been given a job, but you can barely survive in Nairobi.
Right.
So I believe that the young person of today needs to critically, in the next election, remember today the people who stood with them when they needed people to stand with them. And who are these people who stood with the Gen Zs when the Gen Zs needed to be stood with? These are, for example, the Eugene Omalos of today, who, when the young people were being abducted, you had your chance. Who, when the young people were being abducted, severally went before media houses and condemned the same.
Okay.
Who, when young people were being abducted, I had a situation where my president, Kenya School of Law president, was abducted. And my party leader, Eugene Omalo, came to visit this young boy, sat with him, consoled with him, listened to him. So young people must remember that when they needed people to stand with them, because at what point did they need people to stand with them? They needed people to stand with them in opposing the finance bill. I hope that in 2027 they remember that there was a small party called DAP that voted 100% against the finance bill. I hope that they remember there was a party leader called Eugene Wamalwa that went to the courts and stopped Adani. I hope they will remember that when the loudest voice against injustice, the so-called Raila Odinga, abandoned silenced his voice and joined the oppressors. There were people who daily stood and said, this is wrong, we condemn it, we do not agree with it, we are fighting it, and we are offering this alternative. May they not be swayed in 2027 by flashy cars, because the current administration, for sure, has afforded the current leaders the luxury of driving the most expensive GLEs. We have our beautiful ladies, well-endowed ladies, launching new cars every 2 weeks. I hope when people like myself will be offering ourselves to probably vie for Nairobi Woman Representative, they will not be confused and blinded by the big clubs that these other women leaders have managed to acquire money from renovating state houses that did not need renovation. I hope they never get confused by that money and remember that there are people like myself who spoke, who went to the streets, who still believe in the youth agenda and who will push for it.
All right.
That is my parting shot.
I think you've just spoken there to your future in terms of what you'd want to offer.
Yes.
How much did it cost for the AUC
Tell us.
campaign?
Honestly, I do not know.
13 billion figure.
No, I do not know.
That's what
And to be honest, I have no idea.
Yes.
But at least what
Was it worth it? However much?
Very, very. Let me tell you, when it comes to this, many Kenyans may not know why it's important to go for these things. I've been involved in 3. And let me tell you,
they're expensive.
We may never know. But being in the arena, just being in the arena,
The man in the arena.
it's so worth it. It is so worth it. Because let me tell you, it's not easy. If it was easy,
Everyone
every
would have
country
done
in
it.
East Africa would have done it. They would have been in there. But let me say there's something very quickly as we finish, because it was worth it. It was worth it. I hope, when he's talking about I really hope, but he also brings into the fore, there are many dead bodies that were found in River Yala back in the day. We never had Mala say about anything. But anyway, I don't want to accuse him and anything. Probably he's a nice guy, even with the 21 billion dam.
Nice guy, but you
21 billion. You remember the 21 billion dam money that got disappeared in his watch? On his watch. You see, it's very easy.
You're
to
leaving
paint.
us with things that we need to follow.
No. Yeah, but no, he was. He was.
Come back and address those ones
They
next
talked
time.
about it.
Yes.
The guy was caught back and forth, 21 billion.
Yeah.
And now you see, when you paint a picture of him, you'll actually think he's the elegant of the day, and
But there's
you'll
something to follow there.
Oh, the dude.
And I will.
Corrupt as they come, buddy. He a corrupt dude.
All right.
Corrupt, buddy.
All right, Eugene, you're invited to come and speak to this and to the future of now what next for Kenya moving forward.
Mama,
because-
please,
Yes.
while we are still on air, they say give people their flowers
Yes.
when they're right there.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Muduma. You're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you, madam.
I'm so happy that you have grown as a friend.
Thank you.
And
Yes, yeah.
once in a while hiyo
Kupa-
pake ya
ku-
serikali
ku-
ikifika,
ku-
please
ku-
remember there's a girl somewhere struggling.
Kupa pasa. Huyo si ni women rep. Wanasikia wana pesa. Women rep wa Nairobi.
So, Mezungumza, it's been actually 2 hours, believe it or
my.
not. Let me just read a quick sample of what we have here on the comment section as people were following. Now, I'm not cherry picking, I'm reading all. Erickson Odhiambo says, Ruth Ambogo is a sober mind and avid debater. So, and he also spoke to that, having seen you grown. Bolicious, you say the conversation is helping us process the nonsense in Kenyan politics. Please don't sell us the common tripe that we hear every election season. We're past that. And he also says, fake fertilizer? Who is this guy? Oh no, I've just spoken to a farmer who just picked up a bag of fake fertilizer in his past week. Get in touch with him.
Oh no.
Get in touch with him.
You need to
I would like to see that.
Yeah, go
send me,
talk to that
in
person.
fact, send me that farmer. Let that farmer come to us. Bring that fake fertilizer that you got.
Melvin Mwakugu, you say the guy is out of touch, such a poor spin master. I'm not cherry picking. The poorest of them all. Collins, but you're used to this. You're used to
Yeah,
this.
of course.
Collins Oyaro, our lives will only change when government ministers will start using public amenities like hospitals and schools. Is this the same Muduma of 3 years ago? Yeah. And Melvin Mwakugu says the price of fuel is not lower than when they came in. Please, that's not fact. Thank you for the comment. The reason I read this is we have the platform that we broadcast through, and we post this, and then we have the snippets that we will be sharing throughout the week. And this is through the Semabox TV platform and the channel on YouTube. So make sure that you subscribe to get this and more of the short clips. As you can see, there's a lot that the former Prime Minister has come back to And whether or not he does that in the same formation with the government, with the broad-based government, or with other formations, there's a lot to address in this nation. And we are here to speak about it and to see how that develops. There's a lot changing. Many people saying they're consulting and big announcements to come.
Yes.
So let's wait for that. Thank you for watching the Social Newsroom. It's been 2 hours of that. Thank you to the team behind the scenes who are here for those 2 hours following the conversation through. And let's meet next week again. Take care.
Let me tell you.
We are also consulting.